2026 is officially the year of the sprint, but the crazy part is the finish line isn't the holiday season. The finish line is November, and if you aren't across that line by then, you're probably dead in the water. So welcome back to Reforge Gaming. We're, I think, right now standing on the edge of a massive release monsoon, and the next few months are about to be absolutely packed with games. But this is not happening for the usual reasons. We're not seeing a crowded fall lineup because developers just coincidentally finished all of their games at the exact same time. We're seeing it out of pure, unadulterated survival instinct. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, the GTA 6 effect. Now, if you're watching this later, consider hitting like and subscribe. That helps me, and it ensures you won't miss out on the content. Always make sure you check your subscriptions so that they haven't gotten undone. That happens sometimes. And if you want to support the channel directly, consider hitting join. It's $5 a month and you get into my Discord. So Grand Theft Auto 6 is officially locking down November the 19th. And in the gaming industry, a release date like this isn't just a launch. It is a gravitational anomaly. It's a black hole. When Rockstar drops a mainline game, GTA, Red Dead Redemption, it absolutely moves everything in orbit around it. I remember even as a Destiny creator in the past when Red Dead Redemption 2 affected the Destiny 2 player base numbers when it released. I mean, even live service games will likely feel the impact of GTA 6 making landfall. They take all of the marketing oxygen out of the room. It dominates the media cycle for weeks, maybe even months. More importantly, it will be a drain on player wallets. This is about the perspective of the studio executives with what I think we're seeing right now with games launching. They've spent 5 years, they've spent millions of dollars on their brand new AAA game. Are you going to launch your game in October or November? Are you going to ask players to spend $70 on your game when you know it's sitting right beside this thing that's going to be clearing space on hard drives as well as space in the wallet known as GTA 6? Well, absolutely not. You'd be out of your mind to go up against that. That fear, that legitimate panic in the publisher boardrooms is exactly what is causing this GTA 6 effect. Games are being delayed so that they can be polished. They're being shoved out the door. They're being pushed forward. They're being locked into earlier crowded windows simply to escape the Rockstar shadow. Publishers are actively deciding that it's better to launch a broken game in a safe month than a polished game in November or after November. And the proof is sitting right in front of us. Exhibit A, just yesterday, Beast of Reincarnation. Game Freak's massive new title dropped. And listen, it was a hyped game. People were excited about it. But if you spend any time on social media or playing the game yourself, you already know what the conversation is. There are rampant performance issues, frame drops, bugs. The game feels fundamentally rushed. It does not have a very good score on Steam. I myself told people I'm going to bump it to the backlog until we get some patches, and the developers have responded and said they are currently working on patches that will be rolling out in the coming weeks. One of them will be hitting within the next week. So why does a big title like this from a studio feel so undercooked? Well, I mean, obviously some would say that this is linked to Game Freak and their philosophy about launching games in an unpolished state, but GTA 6, I think, is definitely playing a role. In another normal year, a game like that could push itself back strategically, 2 or 3 months delay, and the devs could polish. They go to the publisher, they say, listen, we need a couple more months to crush these bugs, optimize frame rate, and get things in a better state. Well, this year, that request would be a death sentence, because you wouldn't just be looking at November and December, you would have to push it well past that to avoid what's going to happen. The publisher looks at November, they're going to see a Rockstar logo, and they're going to be like, no, you need to ship the game now. Hot, broken, we don't care, we cannot compete in the fall, so polish is sacrificed. Listen, the final critical months of quality assurance testing are then thrown out the window because they're running away from November and October. I even think some games are going to bump themselves all the way to February and March, which already seems to be happening. That will be another monsoon of games, all roughly landing at the same time. And this brings us to Exhibit B, the Q3 squeeze. Another thing happened yesterday. ProbablyMonsters suddenly announced a September 1st release date for Crimson Moon. Somebody just put this in the Discord this morning. Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault, great game in early access on Steam, just announced their release date is September the 2nd. They're all trying to get their games out right before the big pile up. August and September are turning into a bit of a bum rush. We've already seen that happen in September. Phantom Blade Zero left September, and then Onimusha went earlier in September. Every publisher is cramming their games into an 8-week window, trying to find safe harbor before the storm hits. But here's the reality check for us as consumers. Crimson Moon and Moonlighter and Onimusha, they're not going to be the last games to do this, to feel like they're trying to rush up the calendar, and we could end up seeing a lot of games landing like Beast of Reincarnation. We are about to endure an entire monsoon of major releases hitting back to back to back. And because of the scheduling panic, because developers are being forced to potentially trade vital optimization time just to avoid GTA 6, we are likely going to see a lot of games hitting our consoles and PCs, and they're going to feel like Beast of Reincarnation. They're going to feel rushed, unpolished, needing a massive day 1 patch, a day 10 patch, and a day 30 patch. So, this is where I hand it over to you guys. I want to hear from chat right now. If you're watching this on replay, make sure you leave a comment below. We try to reply to those. Are you worried about this, about unpolished, rushed games becoming the theme of this quarter of the year, this end of the year? Are you going to be buying any of these games in this Q3 squeeze where everything seemingly is landing within proximity? Or are you going to be keeping your wallets closed? You're going to skip the chaos and save your cash for November the 19th. Let me know what you think right now while the chat's rolling in. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That way you're here for the live streams, and we are trying to get that member count to a better place. If you watch these shows on the regular and you're like, man, this is great, always having these lengthy free shows to watch live or later, consider supporting me directly. That is how I do this full time, and we have taken a bit of a hit because I was out of town. So check your renewals as well if you have your primes and your celebrations, which some people are already doing. So let me get the goal up and running. We got Tebow with the Prime on purple. Thank you so much. And then the first gifted member of the day comes from DK Baker. Han shot first, and so did you. And we do have the Super Chat goal on YouTube. I know some of you guys prefer Super Chats over gifting. That is there for you. I don't pre-order as much as I used to for this very reason. Yeah, I mean, the bummer with Beast of Reincarnation is, honestly, it's one of those games where you can see the potential. I played it yesterday, and I'm like, oh, gosh, if you guys would have just taken, I don't know, another 3 months, 6 months maybe, like, it would be in a much better state. And it's 100% affecting its Metacritic score. It's 100% going to affect sales, as well as affect the reception and the momentum a game like that can get. Like, I love to see companies branch out and do something new, but it's like, man, you guys are stumbling out of the gate, and you just needed more time. 6 months from Kelb says 6 months, let's go. Thanks for getting me through the workday. Listen, if I get you guys through your workday, help me get through my workday. Hit that like button and hit that join button. I played Beast of Reincarnation for 6 hours. Definitely needs a few tweaks, but I had a really good time. Maybe play more than an hour. And a 20 bomb comes in from Terminal Stupidity and gets us to 199. We are 1 away from the first milestone. I had like a fuzz. There, go. Go. We are 1 away from the next major milestone. Thank you so much for doing that, Terminal Stupidity. I appreciate that so much. We are really wanting to see those big goals hit this week. I'm even willing to give you guys a double header. We could do something on Friday and Saturday if we can get that doubled goal. And a 10 bomb from Wired Rope on purple, but we're going to give it to YouTube because Calvin renewed for 5 months, like right before Wired Rope did that over there on purple to get us to 200. So we're now at 210, and I do owe YouTube a member. Thank you guys so much. We are not just trying to hit 500 this week. We're going for the big one of 1,000. Madam and I will not just play a game on Saturday. We'll do a community game night with you as well. We'll extend the stream significantly longer than typically on Saturday, so everybody can come and be a part of that. Make sure if you got a gifted member on either platform that you're getting into the Discord. Lono, do you think there'll be any games in September that will be decently playable? A9 Asinine comes in with the Prime sub on Purple. Thank you so much, and gets us to 211 members on the week. I'm not necessarily saying that like all of the games are going to be garbage and terrible and broken. I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if this is a trend, that there's a handful of games that we're looking forward to that needed a little bit more time. Now, there are definitely some games that I am not worried about. Capcom has been doing so good. I don't necessarily think I'm worried about Onimusha because they bumped Onimusha to be earlier. Insomniac has a very, very good track record. I don't think they rushed Wolverine. I think Wolverine's probably fine. The minute you get outside of those games, like Blood of Dawnwalker, I don't know. That's a big game. It seems pretty ambitious, right? Blood of Dawnwalker could be one of those games that seems like it needs a little bit more time and a little bit more polish, right? I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just like, that's one that I would pick that I'm not as confident on. Control Resonance, I feel like those guys have a pretty good track record. They're probably fine. There are also a ton of games that are just slated for 2026, and we have no idea what their release dates are. Those games are likely going to land next year, or they just do what's randomly happening right now, where like Crimson Moon is like, hey, we're coming out September, and then Moonlighter, hey, we're coming out September. They're all trying to get in September because I think they know October is when things really heat up. A9 says, what's up, Lono? What's up? How are you? You were just a second too late to be the 200. Oh yeah, you were a little bit behind on that one. Here, let me pay up. I owe YouTube a member, and let's keep that member train going, boys. Let's see. Let me go ahead and gift one to YouTube. Control Resonant should be fine. Yeah, I'm not worried about Remedy. Remedy is probably not a concern. There's just a lot of games coming that it's harder. It's hard to be as certain about it. I don't know if you watch this about GTA 6, but it's a fascinating thought. No, I don't watch his content. I don't really care what he has to say. Gears E-Day is going to be okay. You're going to play the beta tomorrow. I am most excited for Gears Horde mode. It sounds really, really cool. I'll be honest with y'all. Maybe we can slam together a bunch of y'all tomorrow. And a 5-bomb comes in from Hidden Siryu, keeping the member train going. Lose track of what's being released because there's so much. Oh, you're losing track of what's being released. Yeah, I mean, there's honestly so many games. I end up forgetting about games. I think Control is going to be fine because it's make or break after fire break. Any new rumors about StarCraft looter shooter being revealed at BlizzCon? I've not heard a single thing about it. I mean, there's always rumors about like a StarCraft game that was supposed to happen and then didn't happen. Yeah, Castlevania looks really good. They're braving October. Belmont's Curse is I believe October the 15th. They're deciding to brave the waters of October. Wolverine, September. Ace Combat, October. Ace Combat 8, you can actually play it that crazy weekend, the end of September. You can actually play it then if you do the early access. Yeah, I think Control is gonna be fine. I read that. Rayman, yeah, Rayman's also October. Any new rumors? I read that. Can't wait to play the campaign. Horde and multiplayer. Bring back Wingman. Resonance is coming. Yeah, Plague Tale Resonance is coming. That's like a couple of weeks away at this point as well. And I don't know, I wasn't super really looking forward to Beasts of Reincarnation, but as I'm playing it, I'm actually more disappointed after playing it. It wasn't like I was really looking forward to it. If Control Resonant comes out and has a bunch of problems, or Onimusha comes out and has a bunch of problems, I would be pretty disappointed because those games are high on my list. Beast of Reincarnation wasn't really high on my list, I should say. But after playing it, I'm like, oh man, this is just what the doctor ordered. This is the kind of game that I just love right now. It's not super open world. It's not overwhelming you, and it's just fun. But it's got a ton of performance problems. I mean, it's got like a 50% on Steam. Minch Tree with 59 months and a VIP gets us to 217. Playing Pragmata right now and running through the backlog until November. I need to see 60 FPS gameplay before I give Rockstar my money. Yeah, that debate about 60 FPS. I mean, that's an ongoing thing where people are like, they don't think it's going to be it. We had that debate before I went out of town. We reacted to the Dev Chairs videos. He actually has a microphone now that is actually, a nice upgrade for him. He took the feedback, not from me. He had already ordered it, but like he had taken the feedback from some people to like, hey, get a nice microphone for yourself. You've got good things to say. Good morning, Madden Mills. After the reception of Beast, I'm going to pass for now and wait for Phantom Blade Zero. I mean, I'll say that Phantom Blade Zero is another one that I'm a little concerned about because, like, they look like they're going super ambitious. It seems like every single time they've shown it or people have played it, it looks like a vertical slice. And, they're an untested studio in my book. I mean, I think prior to this they did, like, mobile games, didn't they? I don't know if they, they don't quite have the trusted, tried and true pedigree of like a Remedy or an Insomniac or a Capcom. So they're a little bit unknown. Sam comes in with 42 months and gets to 218 for us on the week. Thank you so much, Sam. Phantom Blade is the next move for me. Yeah, that one bumped to it's like end of October, isn't it? Or something like that. Got the chance to play the Gears beta yesterday for 2 hours. Can definitely say Horde mode is amazing. Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw this or not. This was kind of funny. The issue with my issue with games like that, more and more, is I want PvE. I don't want to do PvP. Well, funny enough, they accidentally turned on the the servers yesterday, so people were going into the game even though it wasn't supposed to be live. Yeah, and people were playing yesterday. It goes live tomorrow. So I saw it on Twitter, and someone's like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be in here. So I thought, oh, maybe they're trolling. They're just like on the menu. Then we had people in our Discord that were like, oh no, I'm actually playing right now. And I think it was up for, what was it, like 2 hours or something like that. People were able to get in and play. Yeah. I've never been a big fan of Gears PvP. Just haven't been. My buddies and I tried it. We could just never get into it. We got into like beast mode. We thought that was great. We got into horde mode. We thought that was great. So they turned it into a stress test for the server. Yeah, they could have probably brought down the portcullis a lot faster than they did, but they probably just figured, well, let's just run some tests and diagnostics while people are, slamming into the servers. Guys, make sure you're hitting the like button. Thanks so much for being here. Try to get us those first 100 likes. That is incredibly helpful. It's been a long time since I've had to create a spreadsheet because of so many top-tier titles coming. The chat reminded me of titles that I missed. Yeah, anytime I go to releases.com and use that to, remind myself of stuff that's coming, it's crazy. A $2 super chat from Dan. Looking forward to the new Mafia DLC, only $10. I have been meaning to go back to that game. I have been. I've been meaning to go back to it and finish it because I was watching footage from the DLC, and I was like, man, that looks really good. It kind of bummed me out a little bit that I ended up not finishing it, because really what it came down to is that opener was, I don't know, it was too slow, I would say. Tarantino comes in with a prime on purple and gets us to 219. Thank you so much. Guys, make sure and check your primes. You got to do those manually, and then make sure you're celebrating your renewals on YouTube as well. There's also a 007 DLC dropping at some point. They pushed out some free updates too, I believe, for that one. It was like the I forget now what they called it. It was like the extra mode where you could test run simulations and stuff. It wouldn't be next week. Yeah, no, next week on the 13th, you get Dusk Fade, Hell Let Loose Vietnam, Wild Blue Skies, which is like the Star Fox inspired game. You get all three of those games on the same day. The following day, you do get Mafia: The Old Country. And as we're saying, like, the GTA 6 effect, a lot of these games are going to be trying to get out in September specifically, but we're already seeing some games, stack on top of each other in August. Neo 3 is getting a DLC on the 19th. Mortal Shell 2, August 20th. That one kind of came out of nowhere. We're hearing, and then August 21st is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. We're hearing from people that the demo for Mortal Shell 2 is actually quite good, and I saw people saying they were like, they don't really even like those kinds of games, and they're enjoying it. Hell Let Loose Vietnam is your third. Gears of War E-Day beta or Marvel. Gears for me, and I'm a Marvel fan. The stress test beta yesterday got me hooked. Coalition is cooking. Yeah, the one time they showed lengthy gameplay, I thought, yeah, these guys nailed it. I'm not too concerned about Gears coming out and having tons of problems. Mortal Shell 2 is so good, and I hated the first one. Okay. I just don't have the palate for Souls games anymore. I just don't. I'm just so laid back casual now. I'm like, yeah, if it's hard, I don't feel like getting good. That's just not in my purview. It's not something that I want to do. And more power to the people that love those games, you know what I mean? I'm actually a little jealous of the people that can play like a Neo 3. I know Neo 3 is incredibly challenging and fast, and more power to you. I'm a little jealous. I wish I had the temperament for those games. Is it the very first Wolfenstein or Return to Castle Wolfenstein? Oh no, if you're talking about Wolfenstein that showed up on Game Pass yesterday, it's the original Wolfenstein. Well, when they ported it to Xbox. So the original Wolfenstein 3D was a PC title, but this is the Xbox 360, version. So it is, I believe that's hit. Well, hang on. I don't think it's on Game Pass yet. I believe it's hitting Game Pass on the 11th, unless I misread the tweet. This is another topic. Did you cover how Sony responded to the backlash? I covered that on Monday when I got back. Yeah. I've reached the point of, like, somebody put a video on one of my tweets yesterday of some guy talking about it, and he's like, he's railing against people that he feels are being bad faith and disingenuine, but then his entire argument was exactly that, and I just shut the video off. I'm like, this conversation is so fruitless. The idea that PlayStation's taking your rights away. You don't have any right now, even with discs. Go read the TOS. So they're putting forth falsehood. They're putting forth a false dichotomy and a false idea to claim as if like they're on some holy crusade, and the rest of us are like actively shilling or betraying our fellow gamers. You know what I've gotten to the point of with it all? I don't care. I just don't. It's tiring. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's not intellectually stimulating to constantly deal with false framed, bad faith argumentation about something that people don't even fundamentally understand, and then they just weaponize it to call you names. Like, you're a shill and you're... Okay, cool. I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care if they take your discs away anymore. I just don't care. It doesn't have any effect on me, my experience. It's like you don't even own the games to begin with because of the lack of protection and the lack of ownership rights. That's what we should be fighting for. You keep screaming about disc. Go right ahead. I'm just so over it. It's just tiring. They're talking about the business side of gaming has just wrung me out like a rag. It's just, there's nothing about it that's enjoyable. It's like a religion debate, and it's like, I don't really care to have this debate with people. I'd rather debate actual religion and actual faith than whatever the frick this stuff is. It's tiring. So, I'm over it. I'm not interested in talking about it anymore. It's not stimulating or exciting, or it doesn't really seem to have anything to do with any of the fun games coming out, Now, obviously, the business side of gaming, it's a bummer if GTA 6 does have the effect that I'm worried it's going to have, and that's that, like, games are going to be rushing to market, and in rushing to market, we're going to get a lot of Beasts of Reincarnations, like games that are clearly like, hey, this needed a little bit more time. You guys rushed this. You didn't want to run, into loggerheads with GTA 6's marketing or anything like that. So the playbook hasn't really changed with these people in the past 10 to 12 years. Yeah. I've never in the 11 years that I've done this, I've never not wanted to sit in the chair. I've never been like, I don't want to go down there and cover gaming. I got to tell you, all of July, I was like, what the heck are we even doing? Like, it's like, I've never had that feeling before. So it's like, let's get away from all that. Let's just talk games. Let's talk about, we got Beasts of Reincarnation from yesterday. We got the Gears beta tomorrow. We have the potential for a GTA 6 trailer to show up any day now. We got exciting titles coming. I know people are really excited about Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls. That could be, a pretty impactful thing for the fighting game community. We'll see where that one lands. I know the pros have their own criticisms and stuff. So it's like, that's what I'd rather talk about. You know what I mean? I don't feel like debating piracy, ownership, and preservation anymore. Because I just don't care. It doesn't hold any place in my heart or passion or concern. It's boring. It was all so boring. I'm telling y'all, Duskfade is going to be a sleeper this year. So good. The thing I like about Duskfade is it looks like it's got sort of like a return to like classic platformers, but with good combat. A lot of the times those platformers, they're sort of just jump over thing, get away from bad guy, get coin. And I think that was fine for the time. But that, we need a little bit more now in the gameplay loop, to be satisfying. And I was watching that Duskfade trailer yesterday. I was like, this seems like a really good blend of the, the classic Banjo-Kazooie kind of platformers where you're kind of moving in a three-dimensional space, but it also seems like it has pretty fun combat. Because essentially what a lot of those platformers were, at least this is what they feel like to me, they feel like they're the evolution of the classic 2D platformer, which is fine. That's fine. Like, I love that stage of gaming where they were pushing against boundaries and they were trying new things. That's awesome. But just doing that again, when people like, oh, they should remake those games, I tend to land on like, I don't know if anybody's really going to care about that, because I think after about 5 minutes, the average person's going to be like, I don't want to play this anymore. Like, it's not as exciting. I think we kind of talked about this yesterday. Like, games that were good in their time aren't necessarily going to be like amazing right now. How exciting are you for the new Castlevania? So Castlevania, the new Castlevania, is a great example of the evolution of that genre. Like, it looks like a modern Metroidvania. It looks like a modern Castlevania. The movement, the animation styles, the fluidity. I am very excited. I love Metroidvanias. Not since, like, Ori 1 and 2 and the first Hollow Knight and Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown are some of the best Metroidvanias I think you could play. I thought Shinobi Art of Vengeance was... It was like 2D action platformer with like a dash of Metroidvania, because you definitely retreaded areas with new abilities, but it wasn't one harmonious map. So it had like a dash of Metroidvania. Shinobi Art of Vengeance is like one of the best platformers with fighting and movement and challenges and abilities and stuff. That's one of the best I've played. That one and like Nine Souls. Nine Souls is like sort of like a 2D Sekiro. It's very, very fun, but also very challenging. So I'm really looking forward to Castlevania. Smiley with 55 months gets us to 220. We're a 5-bomb away from me owing you guys a member. Who's going to steal it? Welcome back, Lono. I've personally been enjoying Beasts of Reincarnation, but it's definitely not perfect. I know one thing. They better not do anything to the dog. Well, thank you so much, Smiley. Yes, that I was talking about this earlier, Smiley. My disappointment with sort of the quality of Beasts of Reincarnation it went up the more I played because it wasn't high on my list. And as I played, I was like, this is really fun. This is sort of just like, this is up my alley. It's the kind of game that I love. You know, it's somewhat linear, a dash of exploration. It's not open world fatigue, really satisfying combat, cool art style. There's a dadgum dog. I was like, this is great. But then the more I played it, the more I was like, you guys should have let this thing cook for a couple more months, man. Your scores on Metacritic, your score on Steam, what a disappointment to be like, you made a good game, but you didn't really batten down the hatches before launch, so you're getting kind of beat up for performance issues. Like, I can get over the story and the protagonist, you know, being somewhat bland. I can get over that. You know, gameplay's good. Boss fights are cool. Combat's cool. But it's hard to overlook, like, stutters and hitches. The 24 FPS cutscenes are insane. Well, you can switch that to performance if you don't like that. Did you play Ragebound? No, I did not. Very disappointed with Beast is being nice. Well, I didn't have a terrible time. I didn't. So what I'm saying is okay, think of a game that you're really looking forward to. Okay? It's not broken. It's not broken, but like, it's definitely like I'd wait for them to patch this before buying it. They've even acknowledged it. They've got like a patch coming in like a week, and then they're going to be doing patches beyond that. They know. They know the state of that game. They know it wasn't ready. So think of a game that you're, you know, looking forward to. You know, I'm really looking forward to Onimusha from Capcom. So Onimusha, play the demo, super, super dope. If Onimusha comes out and has performance issues and hitches and things where I'm like, gosh, I guess I'm going to have to wait for them to patch this, that would be incredibly disappointing because I'm looking forward to it, right? The feeling I had when I was playing Beast of Reincarnation, it was like my disappointment kept going up. Because the more I played, the more I was like, man, this is a fun game. I'm really enjoying this, but you guys are really working against my enjoyment with the stutters and the hitches, and it got a little wonky in the one boss fight. You know, I beat the boss my second try. I found it to be very satisfying. The movesets and the telegraphs were pretty straightforward, but it was still fun. It was satisfying. I was talking about this the other day when I was playing through Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and then I played through the opening of Halo Campaign Evolved. And it was like, I think one of the reasons that these games are striking a chord with some people, now some people are being very critical of Campaign Evolved. I don't feel like debating that because that's subjective, right? I had a good experience with it. What's good, Rissick? I had a good experience with it. And I said, I feel like AC Black Flag and Halo Campaign Evolved are reminding us that we don't need 1,000 bells and whistles in a game. We just need good gameplay. And I do feel like Beast of Reincarnation is in a similar vein of, it's just good gameplay. It doesn't need to have this crazy elaborate story with twists and turns. I don't need blockbuster level cutscenes. And the art style and the graphics, they're fine. I don't need every game to make my eyeballs bleed from photorealism and global illumination. It's like, well, you know, graphics are fine. But performance, it's like that gets in the way. If it's hitching, if it's stuttering, if it's doing all that, you're sticking a stick in the spokes of the tire. So that's what was disappointing to me with Beast of Reincarnation, is it really could have continued that theme of like gameplay is king, right? I think somebody just put the gameplay above all, says Ziggy. Right, like gameplay is king. And this is why like Metroidvanias can be so satisfying. I remember having a discussion with somebody here, and I felt like they were out of their head. They weren't thinking that like a Super Mario game should get a Game of the Year nomination because it was a 2D game. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? Some of my favorite games and some of the best experiences I've had have been with two-dimensional games, like 2D platformers, Metroidvanias, etc. And so the the getting back to the basics of just like good gameplay, good games, that's another reason that Beast of Reincarnation kind of disappoints me. It's like you guys kind of nailed the basics of just building a good game and having good gameplay, and it was sort of your first outing, but it needed a little bit more time. Bad performance hurts gameplay. It does, which is what we're talking about today. Like the GTA 6 effect. It's like, I hope we don't have a bunch of more games doing this that are like, well, we could have spent a couple more months polishing and making sure it was well optimized and good to go, but they're basically going to be launching a bunch of games in early access. Like, they launch it, they know there's problems, and they immediately acknowledge the problems, and then they're like, yeah, we'll have a patch out soon. And it's like, that's great. I appreciate the communication and the commitment, but that basically means you knowingly shipped something before it was ready. And the question is, why would you do that? And the answer is, well, you would do that because they are trying to get out in front of GTA 6. That's fundamentally what I think it comes down to, which there is a monsoon of games about to come. And just yesterday, what put this idea in my head for today's show was the Crimson Moon announcement. It was like out of nowhere, they're like, oh yeah, we're coming out September the 1st. And then just this morning, Moonlighter 2, which is a really fun little content loop. If you haven't played that game, I believe it's in early access on Steam. If you haven't played it, very, very fun. They just announced they're coming out September the 2nd. It's like, oh man, September's busting at the seams at this point. Dude was trying to say that 2D was not a design choice. It was objectively inferior to 3D. Yeah, I just don't think that's accurate. Now, you can have the opinion that you prefer 3D games. You don't really like 2D games. But to act like a 2D game is not worthy of, award nominations, whether it's like a Hollow Knight Silk Song or a Super Mario Brothers Wonder or a Castlevania that's coming out, or like a Hades. Hades isn't like a 2D platformer. It's a top-down isometric, but still, that's an older style. It's not necessarily some big 3D world you can run around in. With Beast of Reincarnation, I disagree. Game Freak is known for games that don't run well at launch at this point. It can be both things, though, can it not, Casualties? I'm not saying it's only GTA 6. I'm saying I think GTA 6 is in the room. You are correct that Game Freak is sort of known for shipping games when they're clearly not ready, okay? They're known for that. They're known for optimization taking a bit of a back seat. But I genuinely think that GTA 6 played a role. A lot of games that are coming out in August and September, I worry are going to fall prey to this. It's going to be like, well, yeah, this game clearly has got good ideas, but it didn't need to come out yet. You should have kept this thing in the oven for a couple of months. But the problem is that lands you in October, November, or December. Now, a lot of games, I think especially, oh man, there's a fly in here. I knew it. I knew I saw a fly. I hate when there's flies in the house. I have an irrational hatred for flies. Like, give me a hornet or a wasp over a fly. I hate them. Like, at a personal level. They're yeah, it's irrational. Bethesda same way, release with termites. We will fix it later. Crimson Moon looks good to me too. I watched a video, maybe 60 seconds of a video from a guy who got to play Crimson Moon, and he said it was rough. The version he played was rough. I don't know how much they were able to polish it. Again, the worry would be Crimson Moon's got some good ideas. Looks like a scrappy little title, from... No, it's not a phobia, it's a hatred. No, I'm not afraid of them. I want to kill them. Do you have food around? No. They get in the house this time of year. It's just what happens in the summer. They get in the sunroom, and then they get into the house. I'd agree with you if we get more games that run like that, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be concerned. I just don't think it's an example. This one example is evidence just yet. To me, this is what I'm seeing, Casualties of Gaming. let's set Beasts of Reincarnation to the side, okay? It's obvious that, okay, I will actually say I think they're evidence. Let me actually push back a little bit on what you're saying. The fact that they shipped it and then they immediately are like, we have a patch coming, that means they had like a plan already in place to fix this. Do you kill them? I struggle with killing anything. Yeah, we have a big one of those nasty, gross fly traps outside. We had to put it behind the garage because it was so it just smelled so bad. But it was, I mean, it caught hundreds of thousands of flies. Like, it was disgusting. And then I have one of those salt guns. I like to shoot them. And he's right there on my umbrella. And I don't have my salt gun. My son's got a rubber band gun I could probably use to get him. The Crimson Desert approach. Right. Like, Crimson Desert launched, and there was immediately, like, oh, there's patch. So, I would look at Beasts of Reincarnation and be like, they knowingly shipped something that was just not ready. They knew that the thing was going to need a bunch of patches. They've already said, hey, we're taking your feedback. Currently, we're planning a series of continuous updates, as they've said. A series of continuous updates, okay? So, I look at that and I say, you shipped this knowing it wasn't ready. Then I move to the next thing in my argument, right? The next thing in my argument, if we hit the goal, what do I have to do? Fight flies? The next thing I move to in my argument is, what else seems to be happening right around this time? We're seeing release dates suddenly move up in the calendar. Whether it's what we just heard from Crimson Moon, what we just heard from Moonlighter. Now, Moonlighter 2 I'm not as concerned about because it's been in early access on Steam for a while. I actually don't know what its score is. Let's see. Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault, currently has an 86 overall on Steam, but the recent reviews, it's only got a 70%. So maybe they did some updates that people didn't like or something in the last 30 days. You know, people have kind of dropped their scores a little bit. Career will never recover when you lose to the flies. I'm actually really good with the salt gun. If we hit our goal, you have to make the fly play Gotham Knights. The best games of all time not only have good gameplay, but more importantly, says a good story or writing and world building and lore, I think are way more important, at least something additive to good gameplay. I actually don't agree that, like, the best games of all time don't just have good gameplay, but they more importantly have, like, good story writing and world building. I guess you could take one of those, because you could say that some of the more classic games, like the original Legend of Zelda, had really good world building and lore. I mean, it was subtle, but it was there. You wouldn't say the original Legend of Zelda had great story and writing. Even Breath of the Wild, you wouldn't say has, like, really good story and writing. Right? It's got great world building. There's really interesting lore that's, like, very subtle in the world itself. And the world building is phenomenal, and the way that it feels, and the vibe of silence in this post-apocalyptic, world that you're in. But I don't think you would go to The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, or Breath of the Wild and be like, oh no, the story and the writing is great. Not necessarily. So I think you could take one of those. Like, the best games need to have good gameplay and also maybe some good world building and lore, or maybe some good story and writing. But I've played plenty of good games that I don't feel like have great writing or story at all. Like playing through Ori and the Blind Forest or Ori and the Will of the Wisps. The writing is fine, the story is fine. It's not front and center. It's very, very mere and enhancing. It's not this front and center thing. The world building and the lore is actually quite good. So I think you need one, because I do think sometimes, like, story and writing, depending on the game, it's not hyper necessary to have, like, this deep amazing story with fleshed out character arcs and things like that. They certainly can be enhancing to the gameplay. That was actually something that, Tears of the Kingdom barely had a story, right? Remember, guys, Lono started as a COD streamer. He's got good aim. I don't know. Are you joking? I was never a COD streamer. I want to play Star Wars Galactic Racing. The old Burnout team is behind it. Looks spectacular. Yeah, that Star Wars game has taken me by surprise. Like, that's really climbed the ranks of my list of, like, games I want to play. I love both Tlu for story and for gameplay. I wish I would have had a rubber band. He was, like, right there and shootable, and now he's just going to keep flying by. A fly went by. Burnout was peak arcade racing, so going to buy Star Wars Racer. It was a joke about something said a while back, irrelevant now. Well, it was about shooting the fly. I thought you were being serious. I was like, I've never been a COD streamer. But yeah, I think that, and speaking of story, I do think one of the elements of Black Flag that has, aged rather well is the story, and the voice acting is quite good. My nephews were watching me play, and one of them even said, like, did they redo all these scenes? And I was like, I actually don't know I don't think they refilmed them or revoice recorded them. He's like, but did they do new mocap? And I was like, I don't think so. I think they rebuilt the scenes, but I don't think they had people come back into the studios, and, like, walk around again. I think it's a fun conversation. I also wonder about this. Have our expectations gone so high that, like, let's take Beast of Reincarnation as an example. Let's say they fix all the performance issues. There's not a single performance issue in the game. So let's just imagine that they do that. Okay? Then most of the criticisms we read was that, like, it's derivative, the story is bland, the voice acting and the characters are very bland and dull. Okay? I'm like, okay. Are we to the point now where if a game's not hitting like a AAA blockbuster level storytelling, like if you're not getting like a Hideo Kojima style game, or like a Santa Monica level game, or like Naughty Dog or something like that with story, if you're not getting that, then somehow the game is like falling short. And I'm like, I played Stellar Blade, and I thought the story was serviceable and fine. I don't think anybody right now could go into like a deep dive of how amazing the story was in Stellar Blade. What Stellar Blade sold you was, yes, we know, it had some of the Gooner stuff in it, but that's not why I played it. I didn't even unlock those outfits. I wanted the combat. The combat was phenomenal. It reminded me of Sekiro, a little bit of Lies of P as well. And like that game gives it's like a vibe, like the world, the music, the enemies, the combat. I don't necessarily think anybody played that game and they're like, yo, the story is just, it's incredible, and the voice acting and the writing is just, yeah, it's incredible. I don't think anybody would say that. And yet it was still, I think, one of the best games I played that year. I guess I'll say, if you're going to lean on gameplay and not lean on story, lore, world building, and narrative, your gameplay's got to be really, really good. Your gameplay's got to be really, really good. And I thought Stellar Blade's gameplay was exceptional. It was very well built. I'm looking forward to the second one. That's how I feel about Crimson Desert. People can't stop crying about the story. Yeah, I don't think when I originally saw trailers for Crimson Desert, I was like, ooh, I'm going to play that for the story. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be, I think, odd to go into that game being like, yeah, I want to play that. I want to play that story. It's like, well, no, it seemed like it was going to be like an open world, kind of action adventure RPG, like almost like maybe like a more mature, like Zelda or something. Thou doth protest too much. I'm not sure who you're responding to, Brian. Those names you just named is the reason for that conditioning. Huh? Same reason my video game spending got so restrictive, economy reasons aside. Crimson Desert's a single-player MMO. It has to excel in something to stand out, says Gale. In the current market, I don't wholly agree with that, but that's the impression I get from how games review in the public these days. Well, that's why I'm thinking, like, I wonder, have we gone through a bit of a metamorphosis where, like, we really want every game to check every box, and I don't think that that's necessarily reasonable. It's okay if Beast of Reincarnation doesn't have a world-class story and writing. That's okay. I didn't ever get the impression from the trailers. This is another thing I'm very big on. Like, you really need to let the company market the game and then set your expectations in line with that. Like, I don't think I ever saw a trailer for Beast of Reincarnation and thought that's going to have a super compelling story and deep narrative arcs and amazing writing. I don't think I ever got that impression. I just don't. I don't even know why Crimson Desert set up the named main character without customization just to have no story. It's a very weird choice. Well, if you remember, there was there were some of the, like was it Glassdoor reviews or something? There were some people from the company that basically said that game was just a pile of derivative ideas. They just took from every game, if they thought something was cool, they just threw it at the game. That made the game a bit of a mismatch. It was like you had a main lead character and this story, and then it kind of just turns into an open world single player MMO where the story just doesn't seem to be nearly as important, which is fine. But again, I think I never felt like they marketed the game on like, oh, it's going to be this amazing story. At least, again, that was my impression. When you named Naughty Dog and Santa Monica, oh, you're saying those names you just named is the reason for that conditioning. Right. That kind of ties into when I talk about like the metamorphosis thing that I talk about, how like we've all kind of gone through a metamorphosis as gamers. We're not just only playing games that look and feel like regular Nintendo games anymore. We're not all sitting around playing point-and-click adventures on an old PC anymore. We've played games that have raised our consciousness a little bit about like, well, what could a game be? It's almost like I can't watch certain, like, I can't really watch old sitcoms anymore. I can't do it. I can't watch modern sitcoms either. I don't like them. Now, I don't think this happens to everybody, but for me personally, once I started watching different types of shows, and I've told people this before, I warned them, if you go and watch like all the original Twilight Zones and all of Alfred Hitchcock stuff, like his Alfred Hitchcock Presents and the Alfred Hitchcock Hour, it'll ruin you. It will ruin you. You won't like modern TV as much anymore because you'll see all of like the contrivances and like the cliches and the tropes, and you'll see the lack of like creativity and storytelling, and like, I mean it'll ruin you. And so I do think, like, to a certain extent, when we play like a masterpiece game, a game that has the graphics are wonderful, combat, world, story, it's just considered, a blockbuster, masterpiece or what have you. It can put you through a bit of a change as a player where like your expectations start to raise. There's actually nothing wrong with this. But the problem is not all games and not all studios are equal. So not every game is going to be a GTA 6 or a Ragnarok or a TLU or something like that. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like when you watch the Lord of the Rings movies and then you go and watch a TV show that's, like The Office or something. You can't expect the same level of production. They're different media, pieces of media. They have different aims. And I do think that a lot of the times when we come to a game like Beast of Reincarnation, setting aside the graphical issues and the performance issues, the issues that people are having with like the story and the writing, I just again wonder if a lot of that is like almost like the word that that was used in chat. It's like a conditioning. Like you've been conditioned to think. Gone Kid said it, or Gonk Kid or Gone Kid. You've been conditioned to feel like, oh, this is what games should be. Has anyone said that the audio sounds low? In my stream, nobody said anything today, no. There's a lot of people here. I would imagine somebody would say something if they felt like it was low. It's not huge. It's kind of a small company. Arrowhead made Helldivers 2 a success. Are you excited for God of War Lao Fei? I really am. I was planning to do, I still might do it. I might take the time to do an entire breakdown of the trailer because people were claiming it had like millennial writing, and I don't agree at all. I think they're taking a few snippets of one character and they're like, oh, it's this overabundance of whimsy and, you know, being sort of tongue-in-cheek and goofy. And I get why people are tired of that. They feel like Marvel movies like have affected everything. I was going to do a breakdown of that trailer and be like, no, it actually is about 90% not like that at all. There's a couple of sections where you could say like the one character kind of is like that, but that's more emblematic of the character's personality than the sort of ethos that they're writing in. Will you replay God of War 2018 to refresh? I don't know. I think I need to, because the other day we were talking about God of War 2018. It had been so long since I played it. I forgot certain things. People were like telling me about the trees and this, that, and the third. And I was like, I had forgotten all of that, you know, because it had been so long since I had played. One of the dilemmas with the number of games I'm playing is it can almost make it hard to remember certain aspects of certain games. Like you play it through once, and then it becomes a transient experience where you look back and you're like, I don't really remember what happened in that game. You know what I'm saying? Guys, make sure everybody is hitting the like button. We've been streaming for just about an hour, and we like to have 200 likes in that first hour, so help us out with that. Make sure it is saving your little thumbs up. A9 Asinine says, when games cost $80 to $100, there's an expectations of content density, high-fidelity worlds, ongoing updates, minimal bugs, defects. With GTA 6, this expectation is going to be applied to every game by the consumer. It's changing the psychological baseline in the genre. I like that you said genre at the very end. I feel like the beginning of that I was disagreeing with. I'm like, I don't think it's fair to be like, well, this $70 game better be at the caliber of every AAA blockbuster that I've purchased with respect to what you said, content density. I don't know if I agree with that, which is why you said, well, it's going to change the baseline for the genre. Why my thumbs up got to be little? I mean, it's little on the screen. Listen, you're big boy. You know what I'm saying? You're big and strong, and everybody likes you. Future Game Show just announced Grace Ashcroft and Leon Kennedy are hosting their Gamescom show. Should be great. I don't know who's footing that bill, but Future Game Show always gets the best hosts. You need to accept it, Faye. You're dead. Yeah, I don't understand, like, fans, millennials. Yeah, I was like, if there's a little bit of whimsy and a little bit of goofiness, people are like, it's millennial writing. I watched the entire intro. I was like, because I watched somebody say it, I shut their video off immediately. Because I was like, if you're just going to do this generic armchair analysis where you say it's millennial writing instead of showing that it's millennial writing, I'm not interested in your video. I have assertion fatigue. I do. I have assertion fatigue. Like, so much of this space, so much of the content about video games is millennial writing. Okay, can you show me where and how and why? Break it down for me. Like, let's break down the literary structure of the lines that are used, the pacing. right? Every story starts with crisis, and it moves through struggle, and it lands at resolution. So let's break down the base parts of storytelling here within this trailer, and can you please explain to me where all this millennial writing is? And so I'm sitting here watching it. I was rewatching the trailer. I shut the guy's video off. I was like, I'm so tired of assertions that are not argued. It's just annoying. It's just these presumed negatives. They assert them. If you deny them, then there's something wrong with you. It's like, no, argue it. Argue it. So I went and watched the trailer, and I got about halfway through it, and I'm like, I should make a video and just point out the writing is fine. The writing is no different than anything that they've put out before. It's not like they suddenly changed. Thank you, Rain Waters with a Prime on Purple, getting us to 221. What's wrong with that? Millennials are 35 to 43. Well, what they mean is, when they say millennial writing, is they're referring to sort of like a trend that started to emerge in the Marvel movies. It is sort of a self-deprecating, self-aware, kind of goofy, kind of tongue-in-cheek. A good example is there are moments in the Marvel movies where, Cap is like, this is the fight of our lives. And it's this amazing speech. And then Ant-Man's like, he's really good at that. Like, they step outside of what's happening and they kind of comment on it, right? There's a goofiness. When they all stand in the one Guardians movie and they're all like committing to go on something, on a mission or something, and Rocket Raccoon's like, yeah, a bunch of jackasses standing in a circle. Like, that's another example of like, sort of like a goofy, you place people in serious situations and the dialogue doesn't seem to land on the seriousness. Does that make sense? There's a quippiness to it. It's campy. And it doesn't seem to be in line with what's happening. Like, in the Marvel movie, they're about to time travel, and if it doesn't go right, then everybody stays dead, and they're going to be dead or locked somewhere in some other timeline, and Ant-Man's being quippy, right? They're planning to fight Thanos, and Star-Lord's like, don't call us plucky. We don't know what it means. Like, the seriousness of the situation isn't landing on the dialogue, okay? Now, it works in certain situations. I wasn't bothered by that in the Marvel movies. Now, people have started to label this Marvel writing or millennial writing. Okay? And so in God of War Lao Fei, the cube shows up, and the cube is being, not super serious. Okay? And so people are like, oh, it's millennial writing. But if you watch the entire lead up, if you listen to Deborah Ann Wall do her lines and the gods do their lines, and they're talking about killing her and stuff, it's like there's nothing millennial, there's nothing quippy about it at all. It perfectly matches the scene, the words used, the tone, the severity, it all aligns with what is happening. And I could get in God of War 2018 or Ragnarok, if like Atreus is like, what the heck, fam? Like, if he was like using words that didn't make sense or speaking in a way, if he was being quippy and plucky, and Kratos is like, boy, you'd be like, what's going on here? So I get why people don't want that in games that are more serious. I actually think it's just overstated. It's become sort of like a buzzword that you can throw around. Zero analysis, zero breakdown. It's just an assertion. Like I said, I have assertion fatigue. I grow tired of people who just assert a negative and they don't argue it. I started hearing that after Borderlands 3. Yeah, Borderlands 3 definitely had that style of writing. Yes. Referring to your comment about metamorphosis and expectations, says A9 Asinine, we're going to become more patient consumer base, knowing what that will get us. Like at the start of Forspoken, Frey had a gun to her head and she was joking. Yeah, Forspoken was a good example of like millennial writing. I'm seeing freaking dragons. Oh, I move stuff with my mind. I'm talking to a cuff. It's like, what? It's not always only a negative. Well, no, I think it fits in some places. I do. I think it fits in some places. I don't want to see an over-reliance on it, though. You know? I don't want to see an over-reliance on it. You don't want to see serious games suddenly turning into, like, you know, Marvel-adjacent writing styles. Guys, we need about 20 more likes on the video. Very quickly, make sure you've gone through that ritual. You come in, you listen, you lurk, you enjoy the live show. Do a real quick perusal and make sure you have hit the like button. And then, if you haven't done this, click the join button and select that membership. It's $5, and it'll get you into the Discord. It'll get you a badge and emotes, and it supports me directly. It's how I'm able to do this every single day, and we do not put any of the content behind a paywall. We used to do that, but it's not helpful anymore. YouTube made changes. So, for now, we hang out in the Discord to do the extra stuff. My main complaint is that it didn't even start with millennials. Borderlands and Deadpool are millennial media, but they were written by millennials, so that's okay. Some good self-awareness. Yeah, I would say the Deadpool writing style is very, very much, you know, an exaggeration of that. It's almost too self-aware. Yeah, it's almost too self-aware. Smack the like button for bug-free gaming, that's right. So, you know, the situation with Beats of Reincarnation, and the reason we're talking about the GTA 6 effect is because, again, to me, I feel like you're going to see more and more games that have jammed themselves into this section of the calendar. You know, I'm worried and concerned that we're looking at, you know, kind of a landscape of games that are going to come to market too fast. Like right now, I want everybody to put into chat the one or two games that you're most looking forward to. Let's see if we can't discover a pattern here. So I want to know, what are the one or two games you are most looking forward to this year in 2026? Taste change, says Sethians. I'm Gen Z, and I have talked a lot with my friend that I don't like camp. I like things to be serious. Nick says, it's whatever excuse to bring these games down. They can't attack the gameplay. They can't attack the direction, the technical achievements. So it's about a line in the dialogue or an R2 prompt. Right, they're straining for something to criticize, Nick. I said this the other day. It's the difference between playing a game and reviewing all of its parts and playing a game looking for things to hate. It's a completely different mentality. Okay, we got Wolverine, Gears, GTA, Wolverine, Resident Evil. Is Resident Evil this year? Laufey, Wolverine, Gears, GTA, Fire Emblem. I'm seeing some Phantom Blade. A lot of Wolverines. I'm seeing a lot of Wolverines in GTA. A lot of I've seen some Castlevanias. Okay. Some GTA, some Gears. Okay. The only game that I'm seeing that you guys are putting out there that I actually think could be one of the games that is not ready is Phantom Blade Zero. A Barbie Rewind, yeah, Plague Tale. Yeah, Plague Tale's another one that could be rough around the edges because both of the Plague Tale games launched with problems. So I would say Fire Emblem and Orbitals. Oh, I'm really looking forward to Orbitals. Doesn't it look good? Such a fun idea and such a great art style. No Rest for the Wicked. I'm really anxious to see if my wife and I can get traction in No Rest for the Wicked. We're taking a bit of a break from playing games with each other though, because it's just I think we were just hopping from game to game to game, and now she's going to have a lot of stuff to do in the evening. So the co-op gaming in the home is going to take a bit of a back seat. But of all the ones you guys are listing, Resonance, A Plague Tale Legacy, and Phantom Blade Zero, I think those are the only two I have any concerns about. And Blood of Dawn Walker. Blood of Dawn Walker, the Plague Tale game, and Phantom Blade Zero, these are all games that could potentially launch and have, you know, some problems. Because the Plague Tale games are sort of notorious for launching and not being so great with respect to performance. They're great games, but performance was always an issue with both games at launch. Phantom Blade Zero, I believe those developers are, like, historically speaking, I think all they've ever done is mobile games. And then there is the Blood of Dawn Walker, which, again, Blood of Dawn Walker, I believe, is that studio's first, you know, big game, right? And it seems pretty ambitious. What about Control? I don't doubt Remedy's pedigree. I don't think Control will be in bad state. If you're asking, like, what about Control? Am I looking forward to it? It's one of my most anticipated games, but I have a lot more confidence in their abilities. Kena 2, I don't think Kena 2 is coming this year. I think it's going to be one of the ones that slips. Any game right now that doesn't have a release date. They didn't announce a release date, did they, while I was out of town for Kena 2? I think right now it's just 2026, right? Yeah, anything that's just marked as 2026, I don't think is landing this year. I don't think so. The further we get, the closer we get to September and October, I just think the GTA 6 effect is just going to take a foothold. It's just going to take a foothold. No one wants to be in October or December. Nobody wants to be before or after GTA 6. Nobody wants to be in November. Very, very few people are going to brave November. Like, you know, Godzilla and Barbie. Kena 2 will probably launch after Lao Fei. Yeah. If you look up a game right now, $5 super chat from Skillful. First super chat for the goal. 4 more for some confetti. Well, don't forget Phantom Blade Zero is supposed to have a dedicated showcase before the end of the summer. All our concerns should be addressed after that. Maybe. Yo, Feed is in the chat, y'all. Listen, Feed has not had a membership on YouTube for quite a while, all right? We've been a little lacking on the member gifting, all right? Let's try to get Feed a membership, all right? He's over there with the name Mark Miller. They changed names again on YouTube. Let's see if we can't get that one going. Zelda still doesn't have a date. Dustbloods 2. There's speculation that Zelda is going to be in November. Probably the only game that could do it. Seriously, Zelda Ocarina of Time, or however you're supposed to pronounce it, Zelda Ocarina of Time is probably the only game that could brave November and survive. Number one, because the Switch platform doesn't have a bunch of, like, and the Nintendo fan base they're not all sitting around waiting on GTA 6. You can't get GTA 6 on the Switch. I think the biggest thing that would hurt Zelda's, potential sales is that they don't have the saturation of the Switch 1 yet, but it would certainly be a help to that. Because there's tons of people right now that haven't bought the Switch 2 yet. Ocarina of Time could really change that. I have no idea who it's for on the Switch. Oh, Dustbloods? I tried to tell people that game didn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand it. I was like, why is FromSoft doing an exclusive with Nintendo and it's an online FromSoft game? Like, what? Like, that one didn't make any, it still doesn't make any sense to me. I still think performance is going to be an issue. I still wonder about, like, connectivity and the net code, because Nintendo is not known for their online. They're not known for that. When's the new COD? Isn't that November? End of October, isn't it? Let's see. No, August. Oh, early access. Modern Warfare 4 early access is August. When's the actual release date? The open beta is August 28th. I'm pretty sure that MW4 is isn't it like late October? I feel like it is. I'm scrolling here. Control Resonant, late September. What's this? Oh, Shinobi Art of Vengeance is coming to the Switch 2. Same day as Control Resonant, September 24th. Crimson Moon hasn't been updated on releases.com. They need to update that. That still says expected. So October the 1st, you've got Rayman Legends Retold. Ace Combat 8. Octopath Traveler 2 is coming to the Switch. Gears of War E-Day on the 6th. Star Wars Galactic Racer on the 6th. Hellraiser Revival. Let's see. Dragon's Dogma's DLC is October the 9th. Valor Mortis is October the 13th. Castlevania Belmont's Curse is October the 15th, along with Enshrouded coming to consoles. That game did very well on PC as far as I know. Final Fantasy Resonance is October the 22nd. And then there it is, October the 23rd, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. And it is coming to the Switch too. Oh, and Co Carnage's game, Emberville, October the 27th, and then October the 29th is Phantom Blade 0. And then sometime in October is No Rest for the Wicked. I just watched your open, and I have a question. With everyone moving out of the way for GTA 6, what happens if it launches broken? Performance, graphics, gameplay, etc. Oh, what happens if GTA 6 launches broken? I mean, people will be mad. It'll make a ton of headlines, but, like, I don't know if you can slow GTA 6 down. It's like a train that once it's at full speed, even things like that will be, minor hindrances to the game's success. Like, if they launch it and the frame rate's terrible, they made no effort to get 60, it's not even maintaining 30, right? Then I would anticipate it still being an insane commercial success. Like, people will just put up with it. Yeah, I'm going to try out Gears of War E-Days beta tomorrow. I'm really excited to try out the Horde mode. Yeah. I wish I didn't have to, interact with my Series X. I just don't like interacting with it anymore. I feel like everything it does it just feels slow. Like, anytime I'm helping my daughter and she's trying to get in and out of Fortnite, I don't know. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's where I have to go to play it. They'll make funny glitch videos of GTA 6 and move on. I guess Blood Message is not coming. I don't think Blood Message is this year, is it? I think that's next year. What if GTA 6 feels super dated since it's been cooking for so long? I don't necessarily think that's possible based off of what we have seen. I don't know if it could feel super dated. It would have to be completely and utterly divorced from what they have shown us up to now. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think that I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be the greatest game ever and it's going to change your life and make you feel satisfied in your soul. Like, I'm not going to say that. I don't think it's going to give you like an existential, experience. But I don't think it's going to feel dated. The trailers are anything but dated. That's actually an interesting criticism that's been thrown around recently. It's an interesting criticism. So somebody said that yesterday about Beast of Reincarnation. Oh, it looks dated. And I was like, dated? What? When? What dated? What date? And then I think it was Paul, which, Paul sometimes is just being Paul, but he said that he felt like Wolverine looked dated. And I was like, huh? Dated? I don't get, like, I'm not quite sure why that's being thrown out recently as a criticism and as a pejorative, because it doesn't seem to be like argued for. It seems to be like, again, just like another subjective assertion or opinion. Like, well, that looks dated. And I'm like, but, huh? Dated in what regard? Like, what era of time do you feel like it looks like? And where do you feel that it's falling below? Like, does that make sense? Like, if a game looks dated, I would be curious to know, like, what are they talking about? A9 says, it's that slow subconscious psychological shift that I alluded to earlier. We're already comparing games to what the future of GTA 6 promises. Yeah, what date? Game Pass PC shows frame request. Oh, you guys are just using chat all morning to do this. It's taking you guys an unusual amount of time to add each other to your friends list. We are. How long have I been? I've been live for an hour and 17 minutes. It's taking you guys that long. Let's let's see how long it takes you to get into a game. At this rate, you guys will be playing a game together next week. The Wolverine combat just looks just a little snappy. Snappy. Like, in a bad way? Snappy? Like, I'm not quite sure what you mean. I'm not talking graphics or story. I'm talking gameplay systems. If you have to tap the button around. So Smooth Jazz, what do you feel? What are you specifying a game that you think looks dated, or are you saying what makes you think a game looks dated? People like to say this looks like a PS4 game, but I think it's been a while since they played a PS4 game. On the PS4 on a 1080p TV, games are very good looking these days. I had this experience, Jesse, with Star Wars Jedi Survivor, right? I remember watching trailers for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and they were showing Cal, and they were showing cutscenes. They were showing various things. And I remember thinking, it didn't look that much better than the first game. I was like, this doesn't look that much better than the first game. And then we watched somebody's video, and they did a side-by-side comparison, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so wrong. It looks significantly better than the original. And this is what I think is happening. And I'm going to use the Star Wars game as an example. So I'm watching a game with a familiar character and familiar settings, and I'm like, oh yeah. And what I start to do is I picture the old game as if it's the one in front of me. Because I remember running around as Cal. I remember getting in lightsaber fights and shooting my and reflecting blasters back, right? I remember all of that. But what I start to do is I start to transpose and I start to view all of my memories of the original game through the lens of what I'm watching right now. So I think what happens is people look at a game from right now. They look at Wolverine and, like the gentleman in chat saying, it looks mid. Oh, okay. That's like a non-definable negative that people like to throw out. It takes no effort to argue. It takes no effort to like break down animation sets, move sets, any of that. It's just, it looks mid, right? That's about as interesting as saying it looks good. It's like, okay, great. But what ends up happening is people say something like that, and what they're doing is they're transposing the graphics, the lighting, the combat of this game onto games they played in the past. And they're like, yeah, I mean, I played games like that before. The minute the familiarity is there, you can do that. I did it with the Star Wars game. And it wasn't until I had a literal side-by-side comparison, and I was like, oh, this looks way better than the last game. Do you see? I think that happens all the time in these conversations. I remember people doing that with Horizon Forbidden West. They're like, it doesn't look any better than the original. And I was like, you need to pull up footage of the original. You're out of your dadgum head if you think this doesn't look better than the original. They were doing the exact same thing if they were actually not just being like, a disingenuine, tribalist. If they were being genuine, I mean, I remember PlayStation fans saying it. So there were people that genuinely thought, this doesn't look any better than the last game. And I was like, well, you need to actually do some side-by-side comparisons. Because it is worlds better with respect to the world, the lighting, the texture, the detail, the animations, the faces especially. But what you do is you look at the new thing and then you remember the old thing through the lens of what you're looking at right now, and you transpose it, and you're like, this doesn't look any better. I saw people saying this about Gears of War E-Day. They're like, yeah, I don't think it looks any better. It looks pretty much like the old Gears games. And I was like, what? But literally just now as we were talking about this, I remember what I did with Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and I think that's what people are doing with Gears as well. They're remembering playing Gears, but what they don't remember is it didn't look anything like E-Day with respect to animations, fluidity, speed, lighting, none of that. In their defense, Zero Dawn did get a remaster. What do you mean in their defense? That was well after Forbidden West came out, though. I'm really perplexed by dated, though. Where are all these modern games that make Wolverine look dated? Paul says, I just don't think this looks like it has moved forward from the Spider-Man games, which is fine, but it also did cost upwards of $300 million. Well, you don't know that. I don't think we've got any concrete information about Wolverine's budget. That's just another asserted thing that has no backing. That's just something that people throw around. You might as well say Concord cost $500 million. That's not even remotely factually true. I don't understand how this looks, and this is a conversation we've had before. You say, I don't think this looks like it has moved forward from the Spider-Man games, which is fine, but it also did cost upwards of $300 million. So, unsubstantiated claim about the budget, let's just set that aside. I don't care to debate that with you. Whether it cost $400 or $200 million is immaterial to the conversation about this picture. So what I see in this picture is things that were literally unheard of in the past gen. The level of detail with like the hair on his arm, the texture and the lighting on the armored part of his arm, right? The face itself, like just his face, his mouth, the lighting and the shadows like on his mouth. This was incredibly uncommon last gen. If you had a game that looked like this, you probably weren't going to get very good performance, right? That they threw this much at the graphics. Now, the other part of what you've done in your statement is you said it doesn't look like it's moved forward from the Spider-Man games. So you've now got an unidentified, unspoken ideal that you don't have to define, you don't have to even outline. You just say, well, there's an arbitrary line out there, away from Spider-Man games, and they've not achieved this arbitrary thing, therefore looks dated. I find that this is a common issue in games analysis, is that people construct an ideal. They don't explain what it is. We had this conversation with a gentleman, I think last week or the week before, like it was before I went out of town. And he basically said that like this gen sucked. And we started talking about like it doesn't feel next gen. And we started talking about like what hasn't felt next gen about it. And he was like, well, there haven't been enough next gen features. And I was like, well, can you tell me what a next gen feature is? And he couldn't. So you create an ideal, and then you're like, yeah, it's pretty disappointing. It would be like if I went to my kid, my son and I have been practicing soccer in the backyard. And I'm having him work on, cuts and fakes and kicks and, work on his left and what have you. And if I told him that I was incredibly disappointed because his left foot wasn't as strong as my right foot, well, that would be absurd if I said that out loud. People are like, that's the stupidest thing. He's 10 and you're 45. Your right foot is your stronger kick. His left foot is his weaker kick. Why would you say that? That's dumb. But if I said, yeah, I just think your left foot's just not where it needs to be, man, it's pretty disappointing. Well, I'm not explaining. I'm not telling him where it needs to be. I'm just keeping it generic and undefined, right? I'm keeping it undefined. Yeah, that's from a leak. I don't care about that. That's unverified. Again, your $300 million claim is unverified, so it's spurious and pointless to discuss. I'm done wasting my time on stuff like that. Off the table. Talk about something else. I don't care about the leaks because none of it's verified. None of that stuff even came to be. I take your leak of the budgets and I raise you the leaks of the roadmaps that never happened. Congratulations. We have nothing that we can verify as real. Like, none of it came to be. People are spoiled and don't realize it. Well, I don't know if it's a spoiled thing. I don't know if it's a spoiled thing. I think this comes down to we look at games in a way that I think we're expecting something from them that they've never set out to do. And what do I mean by that? Okay, so think about the history of gaming and how it's dovetailed with technological advances, right? So technology advanced, and as it advanced, well, they could do more with the games. Bigger worlds. They could make them three-dimensional. They could add lighting and shadows. They could add more reactive physics. Okay. So while that was happening, we, I think, started to say, oh, this is what games do. Games push the technological boundaries. And to a certain degree, that's true. Gaming companies start to push against the boundaries. They start to try new things. They start to try to take the technology further. But the goal of the game is not to push the technology further. The goal of the game is to be a really good game. As an example, when I played through Ghost of Yotei, there were elements of Yotei that were technologically more advanced than Tsushima, which complemented the game. But their goal was not to push tech. Their goal was to make a good Ghost game. It benefited from tech advancements. It benefited from new lighting techniques and things that they could do with foliage and wind and stuff. Like, it benefited. But the goal of Yotei was not, we are going to push tech boundaries. Now, sometimes games get to do both when you have someone like a Kojima who's like, I'm going to do things with the weather and the landscape and the music. And so he starts to want to push the tech. But most games, their goal is not to push tech. Their primary goal is to make a great game. Cool Bama guy, thank you so much for using your Prime on purple. So this is where I feel like we come to a game and we're like, this game doesn't look good enough. This game looks dated. I think it should look better. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's just this unspoken ideal. So you can look at a Wolverine and be like, it looks mid. It doesn't look good enough. It doesn't look like, any better than Spider-Man. You're free to have that opinion, but like, I question it. I'm like, what are you basing this off of? Like, what are you looking at in the market right now and you feel like this is kind of falling behind? Like, base level expectations. Unwound, automaton with a Prime gets us to 223. Thank you. People want games in less than 5 years, but they also need to be cutting edge tech with features that we've never seen before. Right, Hidden Siriu. It becomes an unwound automaton is going to double dip 26 months on YouTube. We're exactly one away from 225. Derek says, games launched broken in 25 and 24. Why is 26 different again? Well, we're not talking about necessarily launching broken, unless you're arguing with the premise of the video that the GTA 6 effect is going to cause this to happen. I think commonly the reason games launch broken is because publishers want the game out in a certain amount of time. I think GTA 6 is gas on that fire. That's been sort of a constant in the industry. I'm not postulating that this is suddenly a new phenomenon that like, oh my gosh, games are launching and they're not ready or they're broken or have performance issues and it's all GTA 6's fault. I'm saying this is an accelerant to this problem because everybody's trying to get their games out before October, November. We've had, just in the last 24 hours, we've had like 3 games suddenly say they're launching September 1st and 2nd and 3rd or whatever. So GTA 6 is accelerating the problem? Yes, precisely. Maybe stream delay. We're using the same word. Yeah, it's accelerating the problem. I think so. Because nobody wants to push and take the time needed because it'll land them in November, December. But the problem with that is then they've got to push to January, February, and now they're waiting longer, and now they're potentially looking at less sales. So I think some of these companies are gambling with, well, let's just get it out and we'll fix things later. We'll probably make more sales. So we've been speculating about the games, that would be the most likely to have an issue. And we don't think like Wolverine is a concern. We don't think Onimusha is a concern or Control because of the developers like pedigree and history. But we do think Blood of Dawnwalker is one to maybe be a little bit more cautious about, and Phantom Blade Zero, because those studios in particular aren't as tried and true. Like, their pedigree's not as tested, if that makes sense. So, because Phantom Blade Zero and Blood of Dawnwalker could very easily launch in a similar state that Beast of Reincarnation launched yesterday, where you can see the forest and you're like, yeah, this could be a good game. This has got good parts, but it's not ready. Like, I said this earlier, Beast of Reincarnation wasn't very high on my list of anticipated games. I thought it looked cool and I was going to play it. The more I played it, the more frustrated I became, because I was like, this is a good game. This is a good game. This is a game that I would like to play and roll credits on. I was enjoying it, but the more I played it, the more the performance issues were like, ah, man, guys, this needed like 3 months, maybe 6 more months. You guys rushed this out. They've already responded. They already have patches lined up, which means they knew they were shipping a game that wasn't ready. So you have to ask the question, well, why did they do that? I think GTA 6 is looming over the calendar, and the publishers are like, get the games out. We cannot afford to be close to that game. And it's just something I think we should be cautious of, be leery of. If it's an untested game, another game that could come out and have problems is Resonance, the Plague Tale game, because both of the Plague Tale games launch with performance issues, and that's another one that could have adjusted its schedule around GTA 6, which means it's skipping some quality assurance. It took Cyberpunk several years to become the game it is now, for sure. A lot of that. There's another element to Cyberpunk, low-key. You could be correct that it was rushed. I also think another element is that they spent too much time trying to get the game to run on old-gen consoles. They should have left them behind. I'm more than sympathetic to the idea that GTA 6 is coming at a time when it seems like a bellwether. I don't think anything works like normal after 2026. There's a whole aspect to GTA 6 that nobody has considered up to now, like at least I haven't. I've not seen a lot of conversation about this. So right now, if you guys are playing a live service game with regularity, just say yes in the chat. I don't need to know what it is. If you're playing a live service game with regularity, maybe once a week you play some Fortnite or some Warzone or some Destiny or something. You're touching a live service game with a certain amount of regularity. Just put a yes in the chat. Let's just see. Let's get a barometer here on chat. And while you're doing that, also make sure that you have hit the like button. Okay? Make sure you have you've hit that like button. Let's try to get ourselves up there to the 300 like mark. So we've got yes, yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes, no, yes, exactly, no, no, yes, kinda. Okay, I've got 2 yeses on Twitch as well. I don't mind saying the game, it's Marvel. Totally fine. Marvel Rivals. You're out here putting them swimsuits on. I know what you're doing. No. Yes. Forza count? Not really. Yes, yes. Used to. Yes. Souped up. Does Gosh count? If it's an ongoing game and it's live service, yes. Okay. So take a look at chat. It's mostly yeses. Right? Probably 80%. 75% of the people responding are saying yes. It's not no. It's not 50-50. I think we've got about a 75%. What's the question? Are you with any regularity playing a live service game? Okay. Now, the follow-up to this is, do you feel any instinctive level at all that GTA 6, when it launches, and then when GTA 6 launches GTA 6 Online, does it pose a threat at any degree to the live service games that you're currently playing? Is it a potential threat? Because this is another aspect of GTA that I think that has to be considered. Economically, it's going to impact the gaming market with respect to attention capture. There will be people that I'm not even saying you're going to stop playing your live service game, but there's the chance that you play it less, right? I've got yeses and maybes and nos. So there are people saying yes, they feel like it's a potential threat to their engagement with the current live service game that they play. Okay? There's people saying no, there's people saying maybe, there's people saying yes. Okay? Now, I want you to magnify that out. I want you to think about the millions upon millions of people every month that, just like you, are playing a live service game with regularity. They're booting up a Call of Duty, they're booting up a Fortnite, an Apex, or something, PUBG. Doesn't matter. They're booting up a live service game at some point. There will be percentages of them that play those live service games less and maybe completely walk away from those live service games altogether, and then they live in GTA 6 Online. Do you see? That's an economic reality that these companies have got to be, at some level, worried about. It's going to impact their MAUs. It's going to impact their revenue weekly, monthly and daily. They'll see it. Good morning, gangs. Good to see you. We are one away from 225. It's just dangling there. It's a hanging Chad. And we did have a channel skin running on the channel up to now. This has been a sponsored channel skin segment for Halo Campaign Evolved, and just some key talking points about it. It is a modernized remake. If you guys have not played Halo Campaign Evolved, it is a remake of the original Halo Combat Evolved. There is gameplay on this channel of me playing it. There is gameplay on both channels, actually, of me playing it. And the actual game itself is there has been, some debates and disputes about it or whatever. But it is a great entry point if this is your first Halo game, if you've never played one before. Angry Pete, thank you so much for the membership. And there it is. He secures the $2.25 for YouTube. I owe YouTube a member. You can pre-order the premium edition. Well, that has actually already passed. You can't pre-order the premium edition anymore to get the early access. But the game is on all platforms. Xbox Series X, it's on PC, it's on PlayStation 5. You can play solo, you can play co-op up to 4 friends. It does have cross-play, it does have cross-progression. It's a faithful yet modernized remake. You can experience the campaign that started it all. It's rebuilt from the ground up. It's got high-definition visuals, updated cinematics, refreshed audio, and refined gameplay. Now, I will tell you this, from my own time with it, I felt like the audio design was one of the shining points of Halo Campaign Evolved. The guns, the impact, the bass, it had a very, very cool sound. And graphically, it had a very cool, futuristic sci-fi feel. It's a great place to start or return, so new players, you can experience the story that launched the Halo franchise with graphics that look like what's behind me right now. Longtime fans, you can revisit the original campaign with new surprises. There are expanded gameplay options and more replayability. There's also brand new 3-mission adventure where you join Master Chief and Sergeant Johnson in a new environments. There's new combat encounters. There's new story moments. This has all been created specifically for this Campaign Evolved, all right? It has the classic Halo combat that's been modernized. There's signature mix of weapons. You've got your grenades, your vehicles, enemy encounters, unpredictable sandbox moments, and it returns with refined controls, movement, and pacing. And obviously, it has the great ragdoll effects when you blow people up or you yourself get blown up. The sandbox has been expanded. There's iconic weapons from across the Halo series that were not available in the original, including the energy sword. You can take control of additional vehicles, including the ability to hijack and drive Covenant Wraith. There's more reasons to also replay. You can experiment with the 42 Skulls. It's the largest collection of gameplay modifiers ever to be included in a Halo campaign. You can remix the missions, create new challenges, and experience encounters in different ways. Now remember, that very, very first mission that you can go on, the very, very first mission, is where the skull is for third person. So if you want to play in third person perspective, the skull to do that's in that first mission. You can play solo or with friends. So solo, there's 2-player split screen co-op. That's on the console only, not on PC. There's 4-player online co-op with full cross-play and cross-progression. I know Peanut and Nick Merckx and the boys are playing. And a lot of us were able to play early with the premium edition. So this segment was sponsored by Halo Campaign Evolved. Thank you to Xbox and Microsoft and Halo for sponsoring this segment. I did have a good time with it. I'm hoping they can, bring a little bit of polish to some of the issues that we ran into. I am planning on playing the game co-op with my wife. So thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. It opens up opportunities like that for me. If you're watching on YouTube, do me a quick favor as well and hit that like button. Try to get us to 300 likes. And I owe YouTube a member. You guys hit another milestone. Every 25, I've got to gift one to you guys. Thank you so much for doing that. Yeah, thank you, Asha, for that sponsored segment. And I'm going to pay up now what I owe to YouTube. So keep the member train going. We want to at least end the day at 300. That's on pace for the week, but we are trying to double the goal this week. And was looking promising on Monday, but now it's looking like we're only going to be shooting for the 500. But we have a bunch of extra incentives if you guys go crazy and hit stretch. We'll be doing gameplay on Friday. Madam and I will play the Long Walk with you guys. That's that new co-op game that's getting rave reviews. So we won't just play together. We will play it with you guys if we can manage to hit the stretch goals for the week. And then I'm even considering we could do something Friday afternoon for those that can't make it Saturday night. We could do some stuff Friday afternoon as well. Playing on a Legendary on Pro, just change the FOV and motion blur. It's good. There was consistent hitches and snags and frame rate issues that I'm hoping they can patch. So, a holiday sale. Does Nintendo do holiday sales? Not normally. Lono, you gave me an idea. Convince my wife to co-op Halo with me. It's going to be a bloodbath. Yeah, it could go poorly. It could certainly go poorly. You got to be careful trying to play co-op games with the wifey. It can go bad. It can go bad, brother. Nintendo doesn't do sales. Not ordinarily, no. I don't think so. PlayStation does sales pretty regularly. You know, people that are concerned about the whole digital only thing, they're like, oh, they're going to charge us an arm and a leg. I'm like, they do so many sales right now in their digital storefront because they know that it works. They know that it boosts sales. They know that it gets people to spend money. So, another Australian indie game, Long Walk. That's all we get now after Rockstar closed their studio here. Yeah, we'll play that this Saturday with you guys if you guys can hit the stretch goal. Sony they're about to have very little reason to offer sales on newish games going forward. Yeah, I don't see it that way because of just sort of the way that the market sits and moves and the way that it kind of responds to sales. They internally know where the drop-off point is for, maximum velocity for a game's, sales saturation. So let's say it's a 10 months, 11 months something. Big Walk? Is it Big Walk? I thought it was the Long Walk. Whatever it's called, that goofy co-op traversal game. We'll play that with you guys this Saturday if you manage to get the big goal. But once that velocity slows, they know they can improve sales and revenue by doing a sale. It's one of the reasons they do it right now. Like, think of it from this perspective. They're coming out and they're saying that most of their purchases are digital, okay? And we also know that the margins on digital are way better. Given that reality, why are they doing big sales now? It doesn't make any sense, does it? They do big, like up to 75% off sales. Well, why would they do that? A 10% sale on an $8 game isn't much of a sale. You're presuming something that hasn't happened, which makes your point irrelevant. They're not doing $80 games. The only companies that have tried to push $80 games, funny enough, are Nintendo and Xbox, not PlayStation. So again, I don't think that fear is warranted. I think that's a fabrication made by people that don't even look at the history of game prices. 2K pushed the $70 game thing forward, and then Xbox and Nintendo are the ones that tried to do $80. not PlayStation. If there's 0 physical copies of all games going forward, nobody can get a game cheaper than the digital storefront price. And we know that Nintendo doesn't offer sales almost ever. I won't be surprised if Sony follows that behavior. Again, I find that argumentation to be very, very lacking in being compelling, because Nintendo has far more physical presence and far more physical sales than the other two platforms. So they don't do sales, and they do way more physical than PlayStation and Xbox. So that's not a compelling argument. Like, they don't do it because they don't do it. That's like their business philosophy. And they have a far bigger physical footprint, especially in Japan. And they don't do it. They don't do. The other thing that's, I think, a mistake in the argument is you're presuming a falsehood. You're presuming that you will only be able to get it from their digital storefront. And that's not true. The PlayStation blog literally stated that you would be able to buy digital games from retail stores. Therefore, your argument's based on things that aren't true and doesn't even line up with what Nintendo does. Nintendo does way better with physical than anybody else. And they don't do sales. So the presence of physical doesn't dictate anything. If it did, then you would think that Nintendo would do sales all of the time, right? Because they still have a big footprint of physical. Like, again, I don't think there's not a coherence to the argument, because it's like, number one, Nintendo tried 80, Xbox tried 80. So that argument to me is dead and on the ground. You know what I mean? I wasn't making an argument. I'm saying I will not be surprised if our dreams of Sony's utopian pro-consumer marketplace don't come true. Also, something that isn't even part of the discussion. There's no Sony utopian pro-consumer marketplace. No one has said that today. They haven't said it either. So now you're just like shadowboxing. Like, nobody said that. What they said in their blog was that you'll be able to buy digital from the retail and digital from them. You just stated it as if they'll be the only ones. Like, that was, you said, I won't be surprised. And then you supported that with saying, well, you will only be going to them. And it's like, no, they've literally said that's not how it's going to work. So, like, you've stated this thing about a Sony's utopian pro-consumer marketplace. Nobody stated that. They haven't stated that. And then secondly, you made it sound as if they'll be the only place we can buy the digital games. That's also not true. And then you made the argument that the absence of physical will empower them to not do sales anymore. And then you referenced Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't do sales, and they have a much larger physical footprint than anybody else. So there's no logical coherence to that. Like, they're not connected. Like, Nintendo does really well with physical. They've got a really strong storefront presence and physical presence in Japan specifically. And they don't do sales. Like, so the predictions don't feel logically coherent. They don't feel tied to anything that we've witnessed happening in the market right now. If prices go down or don't go up at all, I'll be perfectly happy. I just don't see much reason to be confident in that. I'm not confident in anything. I've not been persuaded to a single position on this. I've simply stated that right now, PlayStation has shown a willingness to do sales in their digital storefront, and that's where most of their games are purchased. That's where they make most of their money. So there's some sort of internal calculus at the company that states sales are good for us. They're not doing the sales to be nice. That's like another smuggled in odd dichotomy here that people create, that like, well, once there's no physical, they're going to be mean and anti-consumer and they're not going to do sales anymore. They're not doing sales now because it's pro-consumer. They're doing sales now because it's pro-profit. So there's an internal business calculus that they make where they say, even though most people are buying games digitally, and even though the margins are far better on digital purchases, they consistently do big digital sales. Ergo, I see no reason to think they're going to stop doing that, as the calculus that led them to stop doing discs is the same calculus that leads them to do sales right now. It's like, we make most of our money from digital, we got better margins on digital, and then they do big sales on their digital storefront. It's like they're crunching the same numbers. So I don't think we're going to arrive in like 3 years and we're going to be hanging out in 2029 and they're like, we don't do sales anymore, suck it up. Because again, there's a velocity of sales on a given game that taps out, and they know they can stoke those fires with the sale. Like Steam doesn't do sales either because they're pro-consumer. They do sales because it's pro-profit. Kroger's not discounting bread and doing BOGOs on Coke because they like you. They're doing it because it's good for their books. It's good for their numbers. It's good for their inventory management. It's good for profit. So these sales, digital or physical, I think people have created a lot of like, it's like this weird dichotomy where like if physical goes away, we're never going to get sales anymore. As we just had an up to 75% digital sale on the PlayStation storefront like a week ago. So again, I'm not compelled. Now, I'm also not sitting here saying they're never ever going to change prices and they're always going to do big, huge sales. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the pattern in the market, the calculus from the company right now tells me I don't see why that would stop just because they don't do physical. If anything, ceasing doing physical will save them so much money. They'll have more room to adjust prices and do sales because they're not spending all these costs to do, shipping of discs, making of discs, and what have you. They're lowering their operational costs. The other reason why I think you will regularly see them do digital sales as they do now, the margins are better. They have more play. Like if I was coming to you door to door and I was selling an item and the margins on it were great, I'm selling it to you for $20 and it costs me a nickel. Well, it's extremely easy for me to do this big sale. And I'm like, oh, I usually sell these for $20, but right now I'm doing buy one, get one for $15. It's cheaper and you're getting two. My margins are still incredible. Like, when your margins are better, you have more play to do sales. And I think that's another thing that gets lost in the discussion. It's a clear pattern. The clear pattern is rent, subscriptions, and price hikes. I do understand that Steam and Sony do sales currently. I'm voicing a fairly reasonable skepticism about this continuing as is. Steam's been digital only for how long? And they do sales all of the time. So there's a pattern in the market that digital doesn't take away a business impetus to do sales. Now, I'm not speaking to price hikes. I don't think that that's a reasonable position to act like prices will never move again. I've not argued that. So sure, in 10 years, prices could go up again. That certainly is the case. But if we look at test cases right now, the company that still does lots of physical never does sales. The company that's digital only does sales all of the time. I'm not compelled to think that like, oh, once we go digital only, we're screwed. There'll never be sales ever again. It's like, that doesn't, I don't see that evidenced anywhere. I don't see it evidenced in Nintendo's behavior, and I don't see it evidenced in Steam's behavior either. What I see is they have a lot more freedom to measure velocity of sales, margins. Hey, we can do a discount. It's been 11 months. I think it's a lot easier for them to do that. 10 years, I'm looking at months and weeks. Yeah, I just don't think so. I mean, if they were going to do the $80 price bump, I think they would have attempted it. I think more people would have attempted it when Nintendo and Xbox attempted it. Nintendo and Xbox both retreated from that. So I don't see evidence that individual game prices are going to be going up anytime soon. The hardware prices are a particular form of, global strain. So I don't necessarily think that's connected to like, oh, we have to start charging $80 for our games, because you can start to stretch, your goodwill and your player expectations to a breaking point, and then all of a sudden you're left with such diminished demand that it could be completely catastrophic. They're probably already worried about the sales velocity of the PS6. That's already a concern, I would think. They don't really do sales on their first party games. Yeah, that's more of a business philosophy that Nintendo seems to have. They 100% would have shot for 80 with Wolverine if this was the case. Yeah. I don't think a per game price hike is in the near future. one of the main reasons, and this is going to sound backwards, I think GTA 6 is one of the main reasons nobody else is going to do that. Let me explain. Right now, the market has responded to the $80 price point rather negatively, okay? It didn't hurt Nintendo too bad, but they clearly didn't see it as the way forward. And now they're also charging less for digital versus physical. Nintendo's trying to woo you. They're trying to romance you over to the digital. Everybody's wanting you to go digital. Like that's the big thing people understand. Like, you know, Xbox is doing disc to digital. They want to convert you to digital. And you know, Nintendo's trying to do it with a price incentive. Oh, it's cheaper to buy digital. And then obviously PlayStation is just like, yeah, we're not going to make physical anymore. Okay. So in that realm, they're creating better calculus and better margins for the per game purchase. Okay. That solves a lot of problems. I don't think they want to add gas to that fire. Think of it from this perspective. Oh, you just got rid of physical and you're going to charge us more for digital? That's ridiculous, right? Like that would be, I think, at some level catastrophic. The other thing that's in the room is GTA 6. Right now, if you walk out into the market and you're like, our game's 80, that's going to be the question. Oh, you think you're at the size and the caliber and the value of GTA 6? Do you think that? You think you're equal to them? You think you're a Rockstar's level? God of War Alpha will be 70. Yeah, I think GTA 6 is in the room. I think GTA 6 is in the room, and I think it's basically making that not an impossibility. I think it makes it an optics challenge. If GTA 6 would have come out at 70, it really would have been an optics challenge. It's also, I think, an optics challenge to be like, oh yeah, we're going to be 80. But who the heck do you think you are? Especially when it's already been attempted. It's already been attempted. They tried it just last year, and it went really poorly. Outer Worlds 2 had to fall on the sword and be like, hey, sorry about that. We were going to charge you 80. We've changed our minds. Right? Nintendo literally switched to these key cards for the same exact reason. Sony's dropping physical. They get better margins on each sale. There was a really, really helpful perspective on the key cards, and I believe it came from John Linneman. It was on one of their Digital Foundry episodes. And he said that smaller studios really liked the key cards because it helped them get into the retail space for less money, and being on the retail shelves is extremely helpful for Nintendo especially. Nintendo's got the tactile experience. They've got the Switch right there. You can pick it up. You can demo it. They've got a strong physical presence in Japan. And he was like, it's actually really helpful to small studios to be able to do the keycard thing. Now, when Linneman said that, I don't think people realized that he was pointing at the tip of an iceberg. He was pointing, he wasn't doing this on purpose, but I think he was inadvertently pointing at the tip of an iceberg. He was like, oh yeah, it's way cheaper to do the keycards and to get into the retail locations. And people didn't realize, oh, it's really expensive to do physical, isn't it? I don't think anybody like tied that into a bow and thought physical's likely under threat. Everybody got mad at Nintendo, and they thought that Nintendo was doing something scummy. But when you look at the business optics of it, just imagine you're an investor. You're not a gamer. And you just look at the business optics of what Nintendo was doing. Well, they were basically admitting the thing that now is being admitted by Sony. Like, physical's just becoming too expensive. The margins stink. We will see how many of the I won't buy it people are truthful. No disc, no 60, no 80. Easy to say I won't buy a $100 game with no disc, but when GTA 6 is real and lots of people are going to buy it anyhow. Well, and did you see the Black Ops sales numbers? They're ridiculous. Like, the Black Ops ports are digital only, and they've sold an obscene amount. What is this new thing? Helldivers Face the Unknown. December the 8th. Are they going to try and have their 2.0 moment with a teddy bear? What the heck was that teddy bear doing? That's it? That's all we get? Dive now on PS5 and PC. I mean, and Xbox, but you know how Sony is. They don't want to put the Xbox logo on anything. This would be a hilarious short. I had to send this to my wife because I'm the same way about flies. Oh, yes. I have an irrational hatred of flies. I absolutely hate them. When we eat outside, we have these little fans that keep them away. And if they come around anyway, I get pretty frustrated. I get livid. So let's check on that like count, guys. Solid day, solid turnout, solid conversations. And we're about 30 likes away from 300 likes. Let's get there. If you haven't done your ritual, make sure to hit that thumbs up. August 12th, they are Swedish. Oh, that's a week away. Oh. Sorry about that. So that's next week. I was thinking if they were announcing something for December, it would be, pretty significant. How long has it been since Helldivers did like a pretty big update? I haven't paid much attention to that game. The Sony boycott idea is laughable. Yeah, I didn't even really cover it. I mean, if people feel that's what they need to do to express their opinion, more power to them. But I'm not interested. Not at all. It's only about 50% of gamers crying about physical gaming going away. The majority don't care. Yeah. For me, it just comes down to this is so annoying the way Keymailer does this. Have you ever been on a page like this? It will not stop trying to play the video. Like, just watch what happens. I don't know if it's going to do it now. So I was just trying to scroll. I'm just trying to get the information. Do you see? It constantly tries to play the video as you're scrolling down, and you have to like aggressively swipe out of the video. And every single time I scrolled, it was trying to play one of the videos. That's like a new thing now. When I go on certain web pages, any embedded video on my mobile, it just takes over. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Why are you doing this? Jay, thank you for 38 months. I got one of these. Thank you, sir. I'm digital only due to Steam for years, but I still feel people who collect physicals and want them. I just don't care anymore. I don't. The conversation's annoying. Anchored ads of the devil. These aren't even ads. These are like videos of the game. It was Keymailer saying, hey, you've been pre-approved for this game. All I was trying to do was scroll to the bottom to see if it was going to be a multiplat. And I could not get to the bottom of the page. It was just like, here's a video, here's a video, here's a video. And I was like, stop it. I'm just trying to scroll, man. I agree with your stance that we should be fighting for 100% ownership of our digital games. I don't even care about that anymore. It's not a fun conversation. I just don't care. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's not fun. It's annoying. People just weaponize and lie and misrepresent what I say. So I'm just kind of done talking about it. I just don't care. There's just too many frauds. There's too many frauds and liars in these spaces. So it's like, let's just talk about games, Too many games coming out to be excited about, to be concerned with stuff like that. Don't care. Got other things to do with my time in life than to talk about that or care about that. What are my guess for Wolverine sales numbers? I would imagine that Wolverine will not be able to rival Spider-Man. I don't think it'll be able to rival Spider-Man. Spider-Man is significantly more popular than any other hero. But I think Wolverine will still do very well. So we'd have to look and see, like, what did Spider-Man 2 do, like, its opening week? Now, that was a sequel. So I could see Wolverine being in that hemisphere. Spider-Man 1, probably not. Spider-Man 1 probably did very, very well opening week, because it was the first one. Sequels tend to taper down. They don't tend to outperform. So I would think it would probably be in that hemisphere. Opening week. What did Spider-Man 2 do? Marvel's Spider-Man 2 first week sales. Do we even have those numbers anywhere? So Marvel, according to this, Marvel's Spider-Man sold like 2.5 million copies in the first 24 hours. Within 11 days, it had surpassed 5 million. Okay. So 5 million copies basically in like the first week, roughly. So I would think Wolvie will fall slightly under that. I think Wolvie will probably land in the opening week 3, maybe 4 million. Opening week, I think it'll fall under Spider-Man 2. Because I don't think Wolverine's as popular as Spider-Man. Spidey is the king. If you go global interest, global popularity, Spidey's king. He is the king. I think Wolvie does 3 in that same period. Yeah, we're of the same mind. I think it'll be 3 to 4. Because in 11 days, Spidey 2 gets 11. In 11 days, it gets 5 million. I think Wolvie falls under that at like a 3, maybe a 4. Somewhere in that ballpark. That's great for an opening week, honestly. Now, people will claim it's a failure or it's a flop. I'm not really interested in what those people have to say anymore. We have earnings calls and revenue reports that always repudiate these claims. So it's like there's no real reason to listen to all that falsehood and all that noise. Why even give it any time or air? But that's a great opening week. 3 to 4 million opening week. It's great. Spidey 2 did about 5 million its opening week. So there are more PS5s in homes than when Spider-Man 2 released. That's fair pushback on my prediction. I still think Wolverine will struggle to be as potent and as popular as the Spidey. Spidey is king. Comments under PlayStation's post have plateaued to 3,000. It's only a month after the news broke. I mean, I've said from the beginning it would fizzle out and it would die. Because that's just what happens with these types of things. They were saying Spider-Man 2 was a flop at 15 million sold. Yeah. Oh, that's a very good point that Anthony's bringing up. It also has a mature rating, and that can limit your sales. There's a lot of PlayStation accounts, a lot of kids and stuff out here who probably have their purchases restricted so that they can't buy mature games. That percentage of the consumer base is going to have to go to mom and dad and like, hey, can you buy this? Can you put the password in or whatever? That'll limit it a little bit as well. Wolverine's not quite as kid-friendly as Spider-Man either. Parents might be less likely. Yeah, we're of a similar mindset. Yeah, I think that it'll probably land in that ballpark. I think it'll be viewed as a success. Wolverine will be a nice success because Soros didn't move that much. Well, so comparing the two, that's like comparing ticket sales for an MLB game to like a low-level baseball game. Like the expectations aren't even remotely the same. People keep invoking Soros. Soros was never intended to be at a level of Spider-Man or an Insomniac title. PlayStation seems to be celebrating Soros and giving it lots of press and giving them lots of coverage. I think they were very happy with it. I think Housemarque's happy with it. I think the consistent invocation of this game didn't sell well enough. Again, my new policy on some of this stuff is I don't care. I had a fun time with it. It was 50 hours. I got to interview Rahul Kohli. You can not that you're doing this, Cat Uncle, but if people want to obsess over sales numbers and claim a game was a flop or a failure, okay. If that brings you joy, I'm glad I'm not like you, because the game brought me joy. Sales reports don't do that. Now, obviously, I want games to do well because I want the studios to do well so they can keep making the games that I like. But people taking enjoyment out of sales numbers not being as high as they think they should be, we are not the same at all. Like, I take joy from the games. Like, when I played Adventures of Elliot, I didn't go run to look to see what the sales numbers were. I just had fun with it. So there's an entire sort of river. There's like this river of conversations that I just don't want to even dip my toes in anymore. It just is not fun. It's so pointless and stupid. If Wolverine only sells 2 million copies, I'm not going to care if I'm playing it and having fun. You know, if Saros broke even and didn't generate enough profit, so maybe their next project has like smaller budget, I'm a little bummed about that because I want them to be empowered and I want them to grow. But like, I really enjoyed the game, and a sales chart has no bearing on that. That river of conversation, I'm kind of done with it. I'm like, it's toxic, and it's not fun. It's like, at the end of the day, it's just like, what was the point of all that? It's like we get down and wrestle in mud, and then we climb out, and we're like, what in the heck was the point of that? Yo, thank you, Chrono, for the raid. Crow4255, good to see you, brother. Thank you, appreciate that. If you guys haven't hit the like button yet, hit the like button. If you're coming over with the raid from Chrono, thank you so much for joining us. Do that diligence of hitting the like button. We're working on a super chat goal, and we're working on a membership goal. At the very normal pace we're trying to hit, we want to end the day at 300 members if we want to be on pace. I love Saros, but I see it as a loss leader like the Costco $5 rotisserie chicken. It gets you into the ecosystem. It does the job. I look forward to any Saros. I don't see Saros as a loss leader. I see Saros as a billboard. I think we're saying the same thing, but we're using sort of maybe a different classification. It's a billboard. It's another game from a PlayStation studio that they can put in a montage, that they can put on the box, that they can put on an ad to be like, hey, we invest in cool games and cool studios. I am always going to support that. That's one of the interesting things I do find about the conversation, is people constantly talk about how all the games are the same, all the games look and feel the same, and then Housemarque does something exceptional with Returnal. They take it even further with Saros. And what have people always zeroed in on with Returnal and Saros? They want to talk about the sales numbers. I'm not like that. We are not the same. I loved Returnal and Saros because they're innovative and cool and creative. There are no other games in the market like them. Like if Hades 1 and Hades 2 didn't have insane commercial success, would you care if you're a fan of Hades? No, you'd be like, there really aren't other, dungeon crawler rogues at this caliber. You could say there's other games like Hades, but at this point we call them Hades clones because Hades kind of is the standard, is the gold standard for like a dungeon crawler, rogue with like moment to moment frenetic fast combat and iframes. So no one's like, oh my gosh, let's hopefully Hades 2 sold enough so then I can enjoy it. It's like, no, so when I look at Returnal and Saros, I'm like, this is literally the thing that people are constantly talking about that they want to see in the market. They want to see creativity. They want to see something unique and new and fresh. You get that in Housemarque, and so many of you guys waste your breath, time, and energy talking about sales numbers. Like, what? Did you play Saros? Did you play Returnal? If I would think a gamer would want to play those games. They're unique. You would be hard pressed to find games like that in the market right now. The level of polish, speed, precision, the style, the tone, the feel. You can't really find games like those two games in the market right now. That matters way more to me. Now, obviously, I want Housemarque to be successful because I think what they bring to the market is fresh, is innovative, and it should be celebrated. And we don't want to see that not rewarded economically so that they shut down or something. Did I thank Verbal Stampede? When did that happen? Did you just now do that? Hang on. Yeah, that was just now. Thank you, Verbal Stampede, for renewing your membership with your Prime. The thing about Saros is, what if it sold as little as they believe? Wouldn't that show Sony's openness to still fund non-million sellers in the name of creativity? Isn't that what they always ask for? That's exactly right, Nick. I feel like people talk out of both sides of their mouth. They get on this wavelength of like, all Sony games are the same, and they're all massive budgets, and you know they're all safe. You know, they're safe, and then Saros. Returnal gets purchased and Housemarque gets purchased and Returnal had only sold 500,000 copies at the point of purchase when Housemarque was purchased. And then Saros is probably in a similar threshold of sales, you know, probably around 1 million copies, maybe a little bit more. I would hope that Sony's happy with that. It adds a lot of creativity to the portfolio. It does. It's like, it's not all, you know, story and honestly, I think a lot of the claims that all the games are the same are also just completely bad faith. So it's like, that's what we want from games. We want, you know, new experiences, fresh experiences, innovation, things like that. And I feel like we get that from Housemarque. And obsessing over sales numbers so that you can like celebrate a game not selling well, we are not the same. I take joy from games, not from a game not selling well. That's just such a it's energy and a wavelength that I just think has nothing to do with games. There's something else going on. There's some sort of, you know, there's almost like a philosophical or existential crisis there, where like you're needing meaning and purpose and value and identity to come from somewhere, and yet that's what you're making this about. You're not making it about the games, you know. The last 3 PlayStation Studio games were under budget of 100 million. Not all their studios have massive budgets. Yeah, I don't actually know what the budget was. Astro, Yote, and Saros were all games under $100 million budget. I feel like Jason Schreier said that that's not actually true about Yote. It's probably true about Astro. I would bet Saros is right around 100 mil. But I feel like Jason Schreier said that that's not true about Yote, that it is a little bit higher than people were saying. The games are crap. I mean, fine, play something else then. I don't. There are plenty of games that I don't like. I don't waste time and energy talking about how bad they are or how bad their sales are. I go and play something else. I don't spend a minute of my time worrying about all the gacha slop and all the live service flops. I don't. It's like that meme from Mad Men where he's like, I don't think about you at all. It's like, I don't think about those games at all. They don't take up any space in my brain. Like, why would I care? It's like, just go play something else. Saros was around 70? Yeah. Unless they actually come out and publish the budgets, I think the budget conversation also gets into weird territory, because we hear about budgets that are largely, they sound inflated and insane, and then we hear about budgets that seem way too low. Like Yote's budget didn't even sound right to me. You know, Yote reused assets. You still have a fairly sizable staff. I still think the Yote budget was not accurate. What we were hearing, I don't think was accurate. You hear about the fake news story about Blizzard employees? I have not heard about that, no. I thought the devs came out and said that they had the same budget as Alan Wake, and I know Housemarque came out and said that they had a budget that was around 70 million. I don't remember reading that Housemarque said that out loud. The last 3 PlayStation Studios games were Saros, Marathon, and God of War Sons of Sparta. I don't think Sons of Sparta was a PlayStation Studio. Somebody else made that. And Marathon, I don't know. If you want to count that as a PlayStation Studio game, go ahead. That feels like a stacked deck to me. It's like that was a Bungie initiated project that largely had nothing to do with PlayStation. That was initiated, 5 years before the studio was even bought, And I don't even think Sons of Sparta was made by a PlayStation studio. So, Death Stranding is a game that has long legs. I expect Death Stranding 2 will also sell for many years to come. Well, that's not a first-party PlayStation Studio. That's a Kojima game, but that is a good partnership that they have. It's also especially good to see the Decima engine, put on display in such a good way. Hellfire with 45 months. For a long time, I've wanted to tell a good pizza joke, but it was just too cheesy. Thanks, Hellfire. I appreciate that. I also have a joke about Mexican food, but I don't want to talk about it. So, I think we're both in the same boat there. Boo this man. Yeah, boo this man. I've all started on Death Stranding like 4 times. Desperately want to like it because everyone likes it. I don't know why. I just can't get into it. Do you keep starting over? Because I fall started on it, and then I picked it back up, and I got to skip the 4-hour intro. There's like 4 hours before the game really gets going. And if you're always starting all the way over, you're making it tough on yourself. I also dropped the difficulty all the way to the lowest setting so that I could just enjoy the atmosphere and the story and the music. So that is also what I did. So I did 2 things that helped me get back into that helped me get into Death Stranding. Number 1 is I didn't start over. I just picked up where I left off, so I got to skip the fairly long opener. Second, I dropped the difficulty down, so I didn't have to. It was more of an immersive experience than it was like a game I was playing against, if that makes sense. The budget for Saros is roughly $76 million, according to Shinobi, and would not have been possible without Sony, says Housemarque CEO. The game entered full production in 2022. So $76 million? Yeah, so I don't think they're in any danger. Lifetime sales on that will more than double what they paid to make it, I would imagine. I remember Chapter 4 or something took me like 3 hours. I was like, what is this? What if this is 6 chapters? I looked it up and it was 15 chapters and I noped out. Once you leave the first area, it gets much better. Yes. I usually start over, and that might be my problem. I get about 2 to 3 hours in and the next delivery just seems painstaking. Yeah, that's the problem. So you're treating the game like Sisyphus. So you keep rolling the stone right to the crest, and instead of continuing, you let it roll all the way back down to the bottom again, and then you start over. I would stop doing that. I would pick up where you left off. I would even consider dropping the difficulty, and then get that stone to roll over the other side. Because once, I'm serious, I was like so on it, but then I looked at Death Stranding 2, and I was like, I got to give this thing a chance. I got to give Kojima a chance here. And when I did, it literally felt like, okay, I got over the hump. I got to the other side. And I was like, yeah, this game, I can see why people like this game. The gameplay and the content flow feels good. The story is interesting. The world and the experience is fun. Yeah. Now, listen, not every game is for everybody. So don't beat your head against the wall of a game. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Don't do that. Some games just don't work, brother. That's why I put down Silksong. I knew. I was like, I'm not going to enjoy this game. This game has made, fundamental design choices and philosophical choices that were just going to make the game so unenjoyable for me. I didn't even rage quit Silksong. I beat a boss that they had nerfed, and then I got to a new area, and I ran through the platforming, and I got to one of the arenas where like the people keep spawning, and I died, and I got back to a bench, and I was like, oh, I have to run through this area, and I was like, I literally just said, I was like, you know what? I don't want to. That was literally what I said. I was like, I don't want to do that. And I uninstalled the game. It was just this calm sort of acquiescence to, this game was not made for me. It was made for other people. It was made for, very, very strong Silksong fans. It was made for people who almost are sadists. Like, they love the put my hands and brain in a vice. They want that. And I was like, this game was not made for me. Because the boss that I beat was one that they nerfed. I beat him pre-nerf. I didn't even find him to be a challenge. And the run back wasn't difficult. It was just tedious. He was the guy on the bridge. You know, he goes back and forth. He, like, flies. And I was like, he wasn't difficult. I beat him, you know, relatively quickly, 4th or 5th try maybe. And the run back wasn't a problem. The run back was maybe 17 seconds. But I knew the run backs were going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Cool Fight Club shirt. Yeah, I don't know where this was. It was in my closet. And I was just like, where did this come from? I think I got it from a loot box a long time ago. I really do want a Death Stranding or Control TV show. Oh, yeah. They could really do some cool stuff with those universes, for sure. I was kind of interested in Death Stranding, but then I saw what the final battle in Death Stranding 2 looked like, and I thought this really isn't up my alley. Liquid Smoke says, we got another the games are crap guy. Where? A lot of the games I don't ever formally quit. I just play something else the next morning and never go back to it. Yeah, again, I got to the next section and I got through the platforming and enjoyed the platforming. But then when I realized I was going to have to rerun the platforming over and over again, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. It was just a calm, like, yeah, no, I'm good. I went back to Lies of P and I lowered the difficulty to see if I could get into it. And I was like, no, this is just not for me. Like, I think that's a healthy place to be when you just sort of realize that that not every game is going to fit your mood and your temperament. So, you know, same thing with Death Stranding. Do you still get those loot boxes? Got back into you recently and completely forgot about those. I have not gotten them for a very, very long time because I reached out to them and wanted to work with them. I was like, it can't be that expensive for you to send me a box every month. And I was even wanting to just do a box of t-shirts. I didn't want all the little trinkets. And they were really rude and unprofessional. And this was at a time where I was averaging like 2,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch and was like one of the top 1% earners on Twitch. Like, this is back in like 2019, 2020. And I'm not acting like I'm the biggest thing on planet Earth, but I'm like, it cannot be that expensive for you to send me a loot box. Like, just send me a loot crate. I can open it every month. And then I could almost guarantee you would get people to sign up. I was like, I get buy-in, you know. Back then it was a lot easier. Now the entire ecosystem has changed around like buy-in and getting people to monetarily support. Like, if you're not some hype machine big streamer, it's like pulling teeth. But back then it was like, hey guys, I just partnered with this glasses company. Hey guys, I just partnered with this drink company. Like, we crashed the one company's website. We crashed it. So many people went to it. And so I went to Loot Crate and I was like, this is a pretty simple thing. You send me a box every month and I'll open it and I can guarantee you people will go and sign up. And they were like, go and fill this thing out. You need to hit this certain level of threshold. You need to have this certain level of viewership. And I was like, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's automated. So I went and filled it out, and they were like, you don't meet the minimum threshold required. And I was like, what the huh? And to me, it was like, if you want the big dogs, they typically want money. They want like a stipend because they're huge. Like, if you're pulling like, you know, Burnt Peanut style viewership, you're not going to ask for a free box. You're going to ask for money. And I was just like, it wasn't that expensive. I wasn't trying to save money like, oh, give me a free box. I was just like, let's enter into a symbiosis here. Let's enter into like a symbiotic relationship. I love your stuff. I'd be happy to promote it. All I want from you is a box every month. At the time, I had an agent that would have negotiated and told me what I was doing was stupid. She would have been like, no, you should have asked for, you know, $1,000 monthly stipend to promote their stuff or whatever. That's largely what my asking price was back then. It's like $1,000 a month, and I'll promote your stuff or whatever. So she would not have liked that I was doing that. but they were really weird about it. And I thought, man, the level of threshold that they wanted, I was like, you're never going to get somebody to just accept a box. They're going to want a monthly payment. I was like, I like your stuff. Let's have a fun relationship here. The glasses company, that was the conversation we had. I got on the phone with their CEO, and he was like, I can't offer you a big stipend. We're in a growth phase. He's like, well, I can't do that. And I was like, you know what? I like your product, and I believe in your product. You keep me with glasses, and then just pay me per purchase. Yeah, I don't need a stipend. And that was something that my agent didn't agree with. My agent was like, nope, you should be getting a stipend. You're at a size, and a footprint and a threshold. You should be getting a stipend. And I was like, no, I like this company. And I'm still working with them, by the way. You can use the glasses command. Gamer Advantage makes a good product. I like their product. And so we had a great conversation, and we just entered into a very, informal relationship and agreement. Loot Crate was weird. It was a very, very weird exchange. I remember you having pretty good integration with Displate. Yeah, and then Displate was really weird. They had a guy working for them that tried to steal my money. When I talked with Displate, I was like, hey, I haven't been paid. It's been 8 months, and I'm looking at my dashboard. I was like, I haven't been paid. And they're like, oh, no, we've seen you've been paid every month. And I was like, huh? Where? They were paying my contact, and he wasn't paying me. So when I called him out on it. He was like, oh, yeah, I was going to pay you quarterly, and da-da-da-da-da-da. He was basically scraping my earnings, and he didn't tell me. So he set my account up under it was so scummy. He set my account up under his name, and he was receiving payments for my displays. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? So he ended up paying me, and then like a month later, they were like, yeah, we don't really work with content creators anymore. And I'm like, sure you don't. Sure you don't. And I was pretty irritated. Like I have the studio built around displays. I was like, I remember I went to him and I was like, hey, this game's coming out here, this game's coming out here, and this game's coming out here. I was like, these disc plates would be perfect for those release weeks. I will get people to buy disc plates from you. I know I can. Like, I had ones picked out for the launch of Hogwarts Legacy. And I was like, brother, Harry Potter fans are crazy. I was like, you put some Slytherin and you put some Ravenclaw behind me, buddy, we're going to move some disc plates. And he drug his feet, and then the disc plates didn't show up on time. And then I found out that he was being paid my commissions. I was like, what the huh? It was a crazy, crazy situation. Now, disc plate might be better now. That was a long time ago. That was like 2 years ago. No, I don't have an agent. No. Explains he was so friendly, and then he got bent out of nowhere. Yeah, he was making good money off of my work. Yeah. Yep. I used to work as a graphic design. Displate are insane in terms of how much you need to make to get money. Oh, yeah, you like open up a store with them? Yeah, their thresholds are a little crazy. Yeah. What's interesting about Displate is it's a real quality product. It is. It's a very quality product. I don't know how expensive it is. I would imagine they're inexpensive, especially if they're having them produced, overseas or something like that. Is this why you don't show the displays on your wall? No, I just covered them, and after a while, I liked the way that it looked more. I didn't like constantly being framed by the displays. And I also built kind of my own shelving, so I can just like put different things back there, like the cube from Portal and Mjolnir and stuff. I just kind of rotate the stuff that's in the background. I left the disc plates up for a long time after we stopped working with them, but they were just mine. They were the Reforge Gaming ones. I've got like a Ghost of Tsushima and a Spider-Man and a Hulk and a God of War. I have all these disc plates over there that I don't rotate into the frame anymore. I wasn't going to continue to promote their company after what they did to me. They still work with content creators though? Yeah, I know. The guy, listen, the guy lied. He was stealing from me, got caught. I don't know what he thought he was going to do. Oh, and then for him to pay me, he wanted me to put all of my personal information into an Excel spreadsheet. He wanted me to put like my social security number into like a spreadsheet and stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. Pay me my money. Yeah. I've not reached out to them after that happened to be like, hey, this was a really weird circumstance. I'd like to work with you guys again. I kind of like not having a bunch of sponsors in the stream. We've got the coffee. We've got the membership. That's it. I've got the links below if you want to support, Into the AM or Gamer Advantage. I don't think I've gotten a kickback from Sprecher, the Sprecher soda, the glasses, or the t-shirts. I don't get kickbacks because I don't really bring it up or talk about it. We're having a hard enough time just hitting a member goal. Like, the last thing I'm going to do is start being like promoting other companies right now that are giving me like because most companies are just going to give you the 10% kickback. It's like, if you guys want to support me, memberships and super chats, support me. Buying soda and glasses and t-shirts, that's like not really, especially because prices have just gone up. That's why I stopped working with 80s Tees. He was selling t-shirts for like $40, and I was like, I'm not going to ask people to buy t-shirts for $40. Like, that doesn't seem like a good it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I feel like I'm a salesman for you at this point. Like, what? I'm not out here trying to hawk your stuff. I can't speak to their process, but the place I work, it maybe costs $10 to make one. With their costs and designers and licenses, I get it's more, but not to warrant their prices. The average display poster runs about $50 right now. I think when I was working with them, it was between like $20 and $30, so they probably raised their prices. But raw materials are more expensive, shipping's more expensive, so they're probably getting hit pretty hard. Yeah. 40? Yeah. Yep. Unfortunately, with how we operate here, I don't have the luxury to do the whole like, let me promote something for a 10% kickback. Like, I don't have the luxury to do that. It's like I like the companies that we work with, but like, we're not in a good spot. So like, that's the last thing I'm gonna do is be like, hey, go buy a $40 t-shirt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Times are tough. Like, I'm not asking people to spend their hard-earned money on like what I consider to be like things that have become overpriced because of the calculus. Like the disc plates being $50 and the t-shirts at 80s Tees when they got to be about $40. I was like, that feels weird to be like, hey, go buy this stuff. It's really expensive. Like, that just felt odd to me. So, and we dropped the price on the coffee. And that also isn't moving either. And I think it's because times are tough and people are buttoning up. They're not spending as much on stuff like that. Coffee's like $10.95 a bag. It used to be like $15. We dropped it significantly. So, merch isn't a really good support method. The markups, yeah, it's significantly marked up. Yeah, it's good when you're like a high volume creator and like you got 1,000 people hanging out. And 10 people a week can buy a shirt or something. That's great. But when you're a low volume creator like us, it just clutters up things. It's like t-shirt and glasses and soda. So I just kind of stopped mentioning them because it was just like, yeah, this isn't helpful. Does the coffee still do well? No, it doesn't. I don't really promote that either. Yeah, it doesn't do well. I haven't reordered in a long time, and I don't plan to. Too expensive, and the demand for it is practically non-existent. So, I can buy a t-shirt and drop a 50 bomb at the same time. Yeah, that exactly. Like, help grow the community and get more people in the Discord, or buy one t-shirt. Exactly. Like, that's why I started thinking, I was like, man, some of these companies, like, their prices have just gotten insane. So it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, I'd rather get a bunch of people in the Discord and have a fun Saturday night instead of being like, go buy a $50 A-Team t-shirt. Do you know what I mean? It's like and listen, they're doing the same thing everybody's doing. They're dealing with probably the shipping and the inflation and production costs, Anything that deals with raw materials is is in a rough spot right now. Sethian, thanks for the Prime. I appreciate it. Anything that deals with raw materials is in a tough spot. Whether you're making T-shirts or shipping soda, you know, it's got to be really, really hard. So I wasn't like mad that like companies had raised their prices. I was just like, I'm not going to ask people to go and buy this stuff. You know, if that makes sense. I'll say the Frickmans is really good. It's very low acidic. I think the coffee is very, very good. It just, when we switched to Shopify and switched back, it died. It basically died. So it's basically once the remaining amount is sold through, that'll probably be the end of it, because it requires too much capital for me, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to upfront a bunch of capital for coffee that barely moves. It's not a fair expectation of me. Like, I got a family to think about, you know. Coffee is ridiculous expensive because it's, you know, there's all kinds of reasons that those prices have gone up, you know. Freight is terrible right now. Shipping's terrible, you know. So that company that we work with is dealing with the same thing that everybody's dealing with. And it's like they're going to pass that on to me, which means I then have to pass that on to you. And I was like, I'm not doing that. What am I going to start charging, like $20 for a bag of coffee? No. Cop a sewing machine and cut out the middleman. I'll just start roasting my own coffee. Yeah, I have friends that do that, but they do it like very, very low amounts just for themselves and their friends. Yeah, I've got a couple of friends that enjoy roasting. We are at that point of the show where I'll check the news feeds, but I don't know if much is going on right now. See, the big dilemma right now with the news feeds is everybody thinks that the GTA 6 trailer 3 could drop any moment. It could launch. It could drop at any moment, right? So it tends to make everybody go really, really quiet. Unfortunately. What's this game here? Rift Storm. Mythic Protocol coming to early access. It's like an extraction top-down co-op game going into early access. There's also a shooter Rogue that looks pretty good. I forget the name of it now. I followed them. Guns and something. And it looks really good, but it looks like it's only going to be on PC for the foreseeable future, which is a bit of a bummer because my wife and I loved Gunfire Reborn and RoboQuest. I think we see a gameplay trailer. I don't know. A 5-bomb comes in from Sal and gets us to 234. Thank you, Sal. I appreciate that so much. There's a large coffee roaster a few blocks from my house. I don't drink coffee, but it does smell good. Yeah, even if you don't drink it, it has a good smell. Yeah, but right now, the news cycle is going to be at a standstill because people think that the GTA 6 trailer 3 and they think that like GTA 6 gameplay is any moment it could drop. Like, I think a lot of people are looking at tomorrow because the earnings call is Friday. So tomorrow it could be another just completely strangled news cycle because nobody wants to say anything. It looks like we do have a leak, though. The Ghost Recon Wildlands next-gen upgrade has been detailed on the PlayStation Store. It's releasing tomorrow after the Ghost of Recon 25th Anniversary Showcase. 4K 60 upgrade, 3D audio support, faster SSD load times, haptic feedback, and trigger effect. I don't think that game is worth a darn, but people that like it, that's pretty cool, you know, that they're doing that upgrade. I thought Wildlands was pretty bad, so I don't really give a hoot and a holler about that one. Mm-hmm. Guns of Eschaton. It'll be on PS5. You can wishlist it. Yeah, Guns of Eschaton. I've seen. Have you guys seen this one? Guns of Eschaton. Which Eschaton refers to the end times. I believe it's a Greek word. The Eschaton. You can play solo or co-op, which is exciting. It's a Western sort of like post-apocalyptic shooter, seemingly heavily influenced by Fallout. I beat the Halo campaign evolved on Legendary. You did? That's impressive. Cinder City. This game could be pretty good. I don't think we have a release date for this yet. It was annoying. I'm wondering how much all these consoles costs are going to affect GTA 6. Most people have current gen by now, but your normies... Yeah, there's still like 30-something million people, easily, 30 to 40, somewhere in that ballpark, are still on PlayStation 4 that haven't upgraded yet. I just sometimes worry about games like this feeling a little cramped. A lot of these environments and a lot of these fights, it has that like first-person shooter melee feel where like it doesn't, I don't know. It looks really, really good. I just hope that they can, sometimes when you blend the shooting and the melee, I don't particularly like it. So I'll wishlist it though. I don't necessarily think we have, yeah, they just announced it. So the fact that you can play it online co-op obviously has my attention because I like playing games like that. I like playing, shooters like that and stuff with Madam. Unless, of course, they're extremely punishing and ridiculously hard. Like, that's never fun. It's really tough in some areas. I'm contemplating dropping it to heroic to just get through. Could it be feasible for the console manufacturers, even Rockstar, helping discount the consoles to get people's foot in the door? No. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Like, I personally think they raised the price before GTA 6. I think they raised the price before GTA 6, knowing that GTA 6 would sort of re-level out the plane of demand. I think they knew. They were like, well, the number of people that haven't purchased one yet, we know what they're waiting on. They're waiting on a Call of Duty that leaves behind PS4, and they're waiting on GTA 6. So they do that price jump before those things come out. There's a Call of Duty leaving behind PS4, and there's GTA 6. So, like, I think at that level, there was a decision being made. Like, once the war happened, and gas prices shifted on them, because they said, well, we have enough memory to make it all the way to the holidays, and then they raised the price anyway. And I think it was because of the war. Samir with a $5 super chat. Any thoughts on Roblox? They're incentivizing their creators to make more games for older gamers and investing a ton of tools into it. Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on Roblox is they're a garbage company, and I don't have any respect for them, and I wish them ill. So I hope they fail as a company, and I hope bad things happen to the company because they're awful. So if you can't do the due diligence of protecting children, then I hope bad things happen to you. So it'd be great if that company goes bankrupt and everybody gets fired and loses their livelihoods because it's what the company deserves. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Roblox. Something I watched at Cinder City was dropping late 26. Cinder City. I feel like I've seen that. That's a big part of it. They implemented age check to improve safety. If they're actually doing things to protect children and they're actually having some level of ownership, then my opinion would maybe change. But there's just so much wrong with how they've handled that situation. Isn't Cinder City, wasn't this originally Project LLL? Yeah, so here's the issue with games like Cinder City, and this is what you're always going to run into with these games, okay? You're always going to run into this. There's an art form, and it's really difficult. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is easy, all right? But there's an art form to creating intrigue and identity. They kind of go hand in hand. Okay? So, identity. There isn't one here. Generic. Everything about this is generic. I don't see anything that if you showed this to me, I would be like, oh, I know what game that is. Right? So there's no identity, and I think that goes hand in hand with intrigue. Like you have to create something that has this distinct identity. So when you see like a trailer for we could use Destiny or even The Division as examples, maybe even Borderlands, or even something that's super derivative like Pow World, it has identity. I don't feel like this has any identity. This just feels hyper generic. I feel like I've played this game before. I feel like I've seen this game before. I feel like I've seen these enemies before. Your characters, your gadgets, your world. It just feels like a bunch of stuff that I've seen before. So I think that's always going to be a problem for games like this is you're trying to create something that people are going to want to come and play, and they're going to want to live in the world because this is a live service game, right? I see no identity and I see no intrigue here. I just see a bunch of things cobbled together from other games. Like, we go from a mech suit being outside, getting into, like, urban fights, to, like, some tendril-covered monster that looks like something out of, like, the Left 4 Dead series or The Last of Us, and now I see a guy fighting a mech suit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. There's this weird thing happening now where there's a level of being derivative that is, it's almost like buffet style. It's like buffet style. Got back, I saw 4 different games in this trailer. Right, it's almost like being derivative at the level of a buffet. It's like grab. So you had elements and movements and cover-based and guns that look like The Division. And then you have like abilities that kind of remind me of like the First Descendant and maybe a little bit of Destiny, and what was the one? Outriders. And then you have like creepy creatures, like something out of like Left 4 Dead or The Last of Us. And then you got mech suits. I don't know. It's like it seems like what they're doing is, instead of chasing the trends, they're chasing the mechanics or the things or what have you. And they're hoping that gives everybody something to enjoy. Games that do the genre blender come out phenomenal. Nier Automata comes to mind. I think it's an intentionality thing. So I feel like because I know the type of game they're trying to make, I sort of sense what's beyond the veil. I'm like, I know what you're doing. You're attempting to create a blender of genres so that everybody's like, oh, this has something for everybody. But what it ends up doing is, again, there's no identity. There's no intrigue. I know what Nier Automata looks like whenever I see a Nier trailer, gameplay poster. It's got identity. I really do think you have to focus on that. So like the thing that we just watched, it could have a lot more intrigue and identity, and I think what you really have to focus on is the characters and the world building. So when you see something from Nier, there's a lot of character to her, and there's a lot of world building from like the art direction and how things look. New console features are rolling out to Xbox insiders, voice chat, in-game captures, new ways to view achievements, more control over cloud saves, more games on wish list. Yeah. Trying to please everybody will please nobody. You need presence, and you need a sense of like mystery. This was something that I think Bungie really excelled at with Destiny 1. There was a lot of presence and there was a lot of mystery. I literally think that's what kept Destiny 1 alive. What kept Destiny 1 alive was presence and mystery. There was a level of intrigue about like sort of a like Vault of Glass didn't give that game a stay of execution because Vault of Glass was this amazing experience that tons of players got to enjoy. Vault of Glass created mystery and intrigue, which makes the game feel bigger than it is, which means spending time in that game is more meaningful. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the average person that was playing Destiny 1 didn't play Vault of Glass, but you knew it was there. And you knew it was weird, and you knew it was mysterious, and you knew you might see somebody in the tower with the armor or the guns. So it sort of creates this, there's something beyond the surface that maybe one day you could do if you wanted. It also creates something interesting about the world itself, like the lore, the world building, the sense of scope. It would be kind of like playing a game where you enjoy doing low-level scuba work and you scavenge and you find fish and stuff, and then you come back to your boat and you boost it up and stuff. But you always know you can go deeper. There's something at the bottom. There's something down there in the deep. And you're like, yeah, I don't really do that. It's a lot harder. It's a lot grindier. It's a lot more difficult. But I know that it's down there, lurking in the shadows. Well, it would make it incredibly interesting and intriguing to be in the world. There might be like a clue that drops, or you might find something even at the surface level of your diving. But if all the game was that surface level diving and there was nothing down there, it wouldn't be as interesting. Samir, thank you for a month of memberships, bumping us to 235. D2 got too formulaic with their live ops and then lost a lot of the mystery that made D1 and earlier D2 seasons had. Subnautica looks dope. I'm sorry, Duskfade looks dope. Yeah, Duskfade looks very good. Aspiration and drama. Yeah. And here's the problem. This is a fundamental problem with the live service chase. At its heart, they're not trying to make something intriguing and awesome. They're trying to build a machine that prints money. So I don't know if that formula ever spits out another Destiny 1. At its base level, there is something shallow and hollow about it. They're trying to build a machine. They're trying to create a money printer. Well then, okay, well if we're going to do that, what do we need? Well, we need activities. Well, if we're going to build activities, we got to build a world around those activities. We're going to need skill trees and guns and a loot pool that then can have people grinding and chasing. And okay, so what you're doing is purely mechanical. It's a mechanical exercise from its head to its toe. And the reason that you end up with then games that feel completely absent, they're completely void of identity and intrigue and world building and mystery, is because those weren't the priorities. I mean, I'll say this right now. This isn't necessarily a hot take, but it might be something that's never really been stated before. The only reason Destiny lived as long as it did is because of Joseph Staten. And because of the original team that was operating on the idea of we are building a world. We need lore. We need depth. We need mystery. We need intrigue. If the team that eventually was in charge would have been in charge at the birth of Destiny, it never would have made it. Because they would have been purely making something mechanical. They would have been making something that's formulaic. They would have been making something like, well, we need to be able to scale this. Like, Destiny 1 got chopped up and got sliced up and got pieced back together again. And the only reason there was something down at the bottom of the deep, something in the water way down there that was mysterious and interesting, it isn't because of the teams that were building the activities. It's because you had somebody like Joseph Staten at the helm who created a world and a universe that was interesting. That's what everybody's missing. Everybody keeps thinking that they can build a live service game the way that you build a house. Foundation, framing, plumbing, electrical, walls, paint, done. No. I know I'm kind of ranting right now. I'm kind of monologuing, but is YouTube chat just totally dead? It's been at a dead stop for minutes now, and I'm not sure if YouTube is crashing or something. I feel like this is commonly happening after I've been live for so long. Could be heavy lurk, could be some kind of an issue with the browser and the chat crashing after so long. Destiny died after the Halo anniversary. Still, that was a long time, and it lasted years. I miss games like that, minus the paywalls. That's how you make a game. Did I miss the EA buyout discussion? There has been no EA buyout discussion. I don't care about it at all. Yeah, I think the YouTube chat's dead. Oh, I had to refresh. There it goes. No, my chat was totally dead. Zubair said D2 accidentally did that before they realized there are cheaper ways to produce content. They made the Dreaming City before realizing they didn't need to be making Dreaming Cities. That's why the OG Halo games have so much stuff hidden in them too, says Chrono. Yeah, I didn't see any of those comments until just now. I had to refresh. There was the awkward random moment the entire party gets quiet. That's right. A Saudi private investment company bought them. Yeah, I just don't care. I'm completely moving away from wanting. I just don't want to talk about buyouts, financials. I don't care about that stuff. I don't care about physical versus digital. I don't care about consumer protection. I don't care about this stuff anymore. It's not enjoyable to talk about. It just leads to frustration, misrepresentation, bad faith, lies about me and my content, and it's like, yeah, we're just not going to talk about that stuff anymore. I just don't care. It doesn't concern me at all. Yeah, layoffs. I just don't care. Next round of Xbox layoffs. Don't care. Got more studios. Don't care. It's not interesting. Just leads to frivolity and frustration. Doesn't matter to me. What happened to LLC Fridays? I was looking forward to talking about the limited liabilities every week. Yeah. My bad. No, you're fine, Freeze. I came back from my trip to Ohio and I was getting comments from people about my coverage of the physical to digital thing, and I was like, you know what? I'm not talking about this stuff anymore. The people that want to be nasty and make it personal, you'll get everything. You'll get everything that you deserve. You'll get everything you deserve. More gameplay days. I feel like straight gameplay vids do pretty well. They've never done well for me in the 11 years I've been doing this. They usually do pretty terribly. I love that I can come to this channel and hear it talk about all the BS everyone's thinking, even when I don't agree with everything. I love to talk about it and hear it. Imagine going to Ohio on purpose. Oh, what, are you from Michigan? Only somebody from Michigan would have a disdain for Ohio. I grew up in Ohio, Chrono. Fun note, Marvel Tokone looks beautiful. I'll be really interested to see how Marvel Tokone does entering the fighting gaming landscape. The fighting game landscape. I'm kind of interested to see where it goes. Because, Marvel getting added to the recipe can really change things. I'm from Louisiana, but I know a lot of people from Ohio for some reason. I'm from Maryland, and I dislike Ohio too. It's so Ohio. Yeah, Marvel seems to be jet fuel in the tank. Like, they made like a super derivative Overwatch game, and then the Marvel ingredient really helped Rivals get to an insane level of popularity. Now, it was a well-built game. It wasn't like a crap game, and Marvel made up for the rest. So if Tokone's built well and they listen to the consumers and the customers and they continue to iterate and do good things, it could do very well just because with the Marvel attachment, it could really do well. So it has potential. I think the people that want PlayStation to stop doing live service are going to be pretty disappointed, because I think it's going to do well as a live service game. I don't think it's going to necessarily beat the door down and be this insane surprise that Helldivers was. But, yeah. Rivals also Gooner. Yeah, but Rivals really wasn't doing the Gooner thing when it exploded. When it exploded, there was almost none of that in the game. That actually, funny enough, I have a little bit of a theory about this. It's kind of like how First Descendant started to see decline and then went full. I mean, everybody's barely closed, right? First Descendant was a little bit like that. Rivals wasn't really like that at all at launch. Very minimal. People were like, "Ooh, Squirrel Girl's thick," or whatever. She wasn't half naked, right? Rivals saw that turn down and saw that slow down after 11 months or whatever, which happens to all live service game. It's not an indictment of Rivals. And then all of a sudden they started doing the swimsuits and the Gooner stuff, and it's it's a recipe that seems to be pretty tried and true now. When your numbers start to slow down, goon it up and make a bunch of money off the whales, Because if you look at I wonder if you could even go back, Marvel Rivals Steam charts. I wonder if you could even go back and look at when did they really start to push it, Because it is a heck of a decline. You launch, you're pulling $500,000 from December. February, they're hitting 300 million concurrents all the way to March. Then they dropped to 150,000 concurrents. And then they're down here in the hundreds pretty much every day. Look at this. And this is when they're really pushing the envelope. Like it's increasing in temperature. So I went to Maryland, Best Buy Maryland, and they had the Tokone physical game out on the shelves. I didn't buy it because I couldn't cancel my pre-order. It was already in the process of shipping. Tokone won't be for casuals. Well, it depends. It doesn't need to be built for casuals. It doesn't need to be built for casuals. It just needs to have something for casuals to enjoy. Like, will there be just like a campaign they can play through? That would be the ultimate question. Can you give people an inroad to just kind of play the game, you know? Because like this is a heck of a roster. This is a heck of a roster, man. You got Cap, Iron Man, Black Panther, Hulk, Penny Parker, Star-Lord, Miss Marvel, Spider-Man, Storm, Magic. I'm not familiar with Magic. Wolverine, Danger, Doctor Doom, Magneto, Green Goblin, Carnage, Loki, Deadpool, Blade, Ghost Rider. If people feel like they can come and play this game and just have a ball playing as Hulk and they don't ever have to sweat it out against other players, like I think the game will sell tons of copies on that alone. Tokone is very casual friendly. There's a campaign and lots of other offline modes. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Doomsday will help it sell as well. Sneeze says, check my last. The amount of auto combos are heavily targeted to casuals. Yeah, I thought I saw a trend emerging that the pros were being pretty critical. You know, they didn't seem to like certain aspects of it. So you could definitely see that playing a part in the game making a ton of money, but then that can also play a role in the game struggling to have longevity. Because if you can't really get it to get traction in the pro scene, that can be a dilemma for any kind of a fighting game. If you can get a pro scene going, you can get tournaments going, you can get viewership going, you know, based off of that can be a huge aspect of a game like that having longevity. The fighting game audience is huge. Indeed, and I think one of the things that helps a game like that kind of continue to kind of stay in the conversation and in the zeitgeist is you got to have those pros in there wanting to play and wanting to compete. If you can't get that, it almost feels like you'll have a good game. That doesn't mean the game can't be good. I'm thinking with respect to longevity. Longevity for a fighting game is always going to rely on some formation of a pro scene. That's just my personal opinion. But if you don't have that, then what you're going to run into is the casuals will just leave once they've kind of played through all of the campaign-esque stuff. They'll just kind of leave. There's no reason for them to keep grinding and keep playing. One of the biggest challenges for any live service game is longevity. This isn't unique to Tokone, but the difficulty with a Tokone game, a fighting style game, is the content offering is very small. It's a roster of people and it's fighting. That's it. Now you can have new levels and you can do fun things in the videos and shorts and, you know, campaign injections, but largely it is a very narrow offering that I just think naturally just starts to kind of run out of gas. Yeah, new characters is definitely a way to get people to come back, but I think one of the best ways to kind of fuel longevity in a game like that, it's always going to be some semblance of a pro scene. You need there to be tournaments. You need to have those big events. There's big viewership. It reminds everybody that the game is out. It reminds everybody that the game is fun. And that's when you start to see, those things start to fuel engagement. You can click square 4 times to do a super. Casuals like to see cool specials without effort. I don't expect Tokone to outperform fighters. I'm not really tied into, the Dragon Ball fighting games, the Street Fighter fighting games, Mortal Kombat. I am not locked into those communities at all with respect to like player-based numbers and sales and all of that. But I think the Marvel piece of the recipe can really increase a game's success just because people think of it from this perspective. There are people that probably buy the Dragon Ball fighter games and they buy them because they like Dragon Ball, not necessarily because they like, fighting games. Most of the people that probably buy those games buy them for the fighting, and then there's a percentage that are just like, oh, I love Dragon Ball. It'll be fun to play as Goku, for a little bit. I think Marvel's a little different. There will be people that buy Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls because they see a trailer and they're like, yo, I've not really played a fighting game in a long time, but that Doctor Doom, that Storm, that whatever, that looks dope. I want to play that. There's a different level of magnetism when you can put a Marvel character in front of people. I think it's very different. I never play fighting games, and Marvel vs. Capcom made me consider it for a moment. Right. So you have to understand, like, that adds a lot to the purchase, to the purchasing, and to the initial sales. Is people that are just like, dude, I'll go play through that campaign, as Iron Man or Spider-Man or whoever, and they're not a fighting game fan. It has to be near or as good as Marvel vs. Capcom. For fighting fans, maybe. For like longtime fans, maybe. But I think in general, a lot of the times when the Marvel recipe's in the room, think of how many people bought Marvel Rivals just because they wanted to play as Spider-Man or something. They weren't like, oh, I love Overwatch. Oh, I love hero shooters. It was, I want to play as Venom. I want to play as that character. Like, that's going to be, an injection of engagement in purchases. And obviously you can see it in the player numbers. Like Marvel Rivals was absurd for a couple of months there, and then it died down. Well, what happened? Well, the people that were just in there wanting to run around as the Punisher for a little bit or something had their fun, and then they got their fill and then they left. The people that really like hero shooters, the people that were looking for something to supplant, Overwatch, they're the ones that kind of stay, and they're the ones that continue playing. Most people that I play with on Rivals literally say because they played Overwatch, but they didn't like Overwatch 2, Rivals felt like more Overwatch to them. Oh yeah, a lot of people that played and continued to play, they were looking for something to replace Overwatch, for sure. I wish I could get into fighter games, but I always select the same 1 or 2 characters, and most of the time they aren't the characters I think look cool. I just could never get into fighting games for very long because it's the smallest and shortest and fastest version of why I don't like PvP games. The game exists in a binary. You either win or you lose. Losing in a fighting game is not fun, like, at all. There's nothing fun about it, especially when you're severely outmatched. You literally just feel like you're watching somebody else play. Like, there was a short stint where, like, I was pretty good with Fei Long in Super Street Fighter, and I was pretty good with Saber Wolf, and I think the first Killer Instinct. But then I just would continue playing against players that were better than me, and then you're like, this isn't fun. When you play and you're severely outmatched, you don't even feel like you're playing. You're just watching your character get wailed on. And that I think is like the threshold of skill required to counter a high-skilled player in a fighting game, like the threshold required, is just something that, like, I never felt the desire to do. I was like, yeah, I don't really like these games that much to begin with. I would much rather play something like Mario Kart or GoldenEye. So even when I was playing the games, I was playing something that was like, it wouldn't have been my first choice. And then when you get whomped, you're like, yeah, I mean, I'm not even playing. I'm just watching my player get beat up. So I gravitated towards, other game types, more naturally, Yeah, it wasn't just my brother, Zoob. You're being funny, but like him and his friends, they got really good at the games. So, you play a couple times and you get stomped. And especially back then, when you could only play like, once a week on like a Saturday or something. Is it like, am I going to use my playtime to practice a fighting game? Or am I going to just have fun and, play Mario Kart or, play this campaign in Time Splitters or something, or Turok or what have you? Like, when you could only play once a week, like back then, it was like, yeah, we get to play on Saturday. It's like, I don't necessarily want to try to, quote unquote, like, get good. I think I tried that with Killer Instinct Gold, and that was when I kind of realized that this isn't what I want to do. I would spend a lot of time practicing with Jago, like you could practice and, work on all the combos. And then I would get into a real fight and I would fall to pieces. I couldn't do any of the things that I had practiced. And I was just like, yeah, I don't want to, I'm not going to use my game time on this. I felt like I was wearing somebody else's shoes. I was like, yeah, this isn't my thing. Like, I could play GoldenEye and get good, or I could play Turok and get good. And we played PvP in both of those games, and they were a lot of fun. And that's why I think I made the switch to, Quake 2 and Quake 3 and Unreal Tournament on PC, because that was something not only I had more of an affinity for, but I also had more ability. Like, I was just naturally better at shooters than I was fighting games. But eventually I ran into the same binary problem with PvP and shooters. You're either winning or you're losing. Like, you either win or you lose. And when you lose, it's just not any fun. You're like, yeah, okay, we didn't capture enough flags. We didn't shoot enough people, So in the fighting game community, a fighting game it needs about 2,000 people playing consistently for it to be considered healthy. Even 1,000 is fine. This game, since it's Marvel, will sell crazy amounts most likely, but it'll have a huge drop-off because people who don't normally play fighting games will buy it because of the Marvel name, and they'll drop off after 3 to 6 months. I think 3 to 6 months is generous. I think a lot of the people that buy it purely because it's Marvel, I think a lot of them are going to drop off after like a month. When it comes to what the pros are saying, if they're not liking it, normally means it's very casually friendly, and they don't like that. But the casuals keep the games alive. There's more casual players than tournament players, and the pros will complain, but they'll still show up to the tournaments anyway. Maybe. Pro scenes can die if the game's too casual. So, let's see here. I'm looking at the time. I'm looking at how long we've been live. I think I'm probably gonna call it. Probably. I'm not sure what we'll do tomorrow. I think the fear is going to be that GTA 6 drops a trailer tomorrow, so the news cycle is going to button up and say nothing. So. If there are enough casuals, couldn't you have a minimum casual population to have fun against each other? Maybe. So, well, we're going to be behind pace for, I don't even know, many weeks in a row. So I'm just going to continue to say this. If you like this show and you like the daily podcast and you want it to continue, this is a fan-supported channel. So consider joining, consider becoming a member. That's been a continued thing that we've worked on for years. And if folks don't see the value in that, then fair. We have a Discord and a place to hang out there. And then we do not. I do my absolute best to not riddle the streams with ads and ad placements, and we also don't do like paywalls and stuff like that. We try to just make the content available to all, and I'm able to do that largely. Also, not having to do lots of sponsorships and stuff because we're fan funded. But the fan funding has been a consistent point of just. It's an elusive thing. It's an elusive thing. So if you like this content, just going to continue to say that. That is how we do this. Consider joining. It's $5 a month. You get into the Discord, and that is how I do this full time. And yeah, we are we're weekly working on that goal every week, and it's been for a while now. It's been a bit of a struggle. And I think it's because we rely a little bit too much on gifting. So a great way to alleviate that is use your Primes on Twitch, because those are just included in your Amazon Prime. Don't forget to celebrate your memberships. If you're already paying for one, make sure and celebrate it so we can count it. I want you guys getting credit. And then consider signing up if you have not already done it. Those are the 3 easiest ways to help with that weekly goal, and helps us keep doing what we're doing. So we're going to head to the Discord, and that is where we do Green Room. That is where we hang out and kind of break down strategy and what we're doing the next day. And we will see you tomorrow. I have no idea what we're going to talk about because, again, it's a Take-Two earnings week, and so it's got the news cycle in a bit of a stranglehold. So Chrono says, I don't know what to say. I just want to be included. Thanks for the super chat, Chrono, and thanks for the daily raids. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the 5 spot. So yeah. We will see you guys in the Discord.